I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask the assistant clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Sorrell?
Here.
Assistant Mayor Grasson?
Here.
Councilor Farini?
Here.
Councilor Marchand?
Here.
Councilor Padalakis?
Here.
Councilor Hines?
Here.
Councilor Reynolds? Councilor Whitehouse?
Here.
Councilor St. Laurent?
Here.
I'd like to ask everyone to rise for a moment of silent prayer, and then Assistant Mayor Grasso will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America.
All right, we're down to presentation. It's a proposed joint development agreement regarding a parking garage and conference center, Harbor Corp, the Sheraton Hotel. John, I'll pass it to you to start off.
Thank you, Your Honor. What I'd like to do is start off the presentation by introducing Dana Levinson, the chairman of the Economic Development Commission, to come forward to give a brief history of the proposed project. And after that, we will have Steve Griswold, president of Harbor Corp, come forward and make a presentation. And finally, there'll be a presentation by the city's hospitality consultant, Robert J. Crawford, Jr. of Hospitality Resolutions, Inc. Your Honor, have Dana.
Very good, yes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Good evening, City Councilors. First, I'd like to acknowledge with me tonight from the Economic Development Commission is Vice Chairman Everett Eden and Member Robin McIntosh. Thank you for coming. Tonight's presentations outlining the joint development agreement between the City and Harbor Corps represent years of thoughtful study and reasoned review by the public, City staff, representatives of the Sheraton, and the Economic Development Commission. Tonight is a continuation of what we consider to be a very defined process which started back in 1999 with a well-documented Northern Tier feasibility study. This study, as you know, has proven over the years to be a valuable blueprint and economic development tool in addressing what is perhaps the last frontier in our central business district. The Northern Tier study conceptual plans for the mixed-use development called for an anchor of a conference center of a size and a scale appropriate for Portsmouth. This study and this concept has generally been accepted by all, and it even has been incorporated into the city's master plan. And since the direction of the council in January of 2004, the EDC has been working diligently with the city manager and representatives of Harbor Corps to explore a public-private partnership in keeping with the goals of this Northern Tier study, as well as the economic development objectives of the EDC. The joint development agreement before you tonight is the result of those efforts. It's the opinion of the EDC that no other project before us could be more significant to the long-term vitality and economic prosperity of our community than the proposed conference center and parking garage. Many of the following benefits have been well documented. I won't go into them in depth, but nonetheless, I feel it important to list some of the major ones, not the least of which is $700,000 in additional property tax revenue, $16 million in additional annual spillover spending, replacement of market share and related business lost with the closing of Yokins. And I would also like to point out that without such a facility, we would be the only major market in New Hampshire unable to support a meeting of 500 people or more. Location of such a facility in the heart of the CBA would promote economic activity in the shoulder seasons when many of these conferences are planned to take place. A 657-space parking garage funded through parking revenues and a 325-space lease to Harbor Corps. It's important to note this will not be at a cost to the city taxpayers. And perhaps less well documented but equally significant is the benefit to the city of owning, managing, and operating the garage. Within a 3-block area, the city will manage in excess of 1,700 public spaces and over 1,900 public/private spaces. By having the city control all parking, increased efficiency, utilization, and parking revenues will be greatly enhanced. The garage, in our view, is not intended to be an answer to a parking solution or an answer. It's merely an addition, in our view, to the overall inventory. It's the goal of the EDC to always be forward-looking, to plan ahead, and we will always do our best to work with city officials and the council to balance supply and demand. This is an exciting project. We feel it can be a building block for continued economic development within our city, and we encourage your approval of the joint development agreement tonight. Thank you very much, and I think, John, now you want to introduce Steve Griswold from Harbor Corps.
Well, good evening. Pleasure to be back again tonight. I've been before you over the years many, many times. Some people who are here, I think, when the Sheraton was done, actually, many years ago. I'm going to talk a little bit about what the proposal that is before you is, and contrary to some of the reading I've been doing lately, what it is not. It is true to what I think all of you expected would come forward in this proposal, and what's in the development agreement, I believe, is an answer to questions that have been asked and vetted in public sessions that I've been a part of ever since 1999. And I guess the best thing to take a look at, and you've got this in your packages, but it goes back to the executive summary we did over a year ago now. And it was in that summary that we considered these facts and decided that you would enter into a memorandum of understanding with us based on this set of facts and this set of hoped-for circumstances that could happen. What we have done in the meantime is fashion an agreement that lies before you tonight that would enable the next step of that MOU to start to take action and get into its fruition stages. Back a year ago, we had a report from Applied Economics Research, and I understand you've also had the time now to have your own consultant take a look at the benefits that are going to come as a part of this development. And we talked about the $700,000 that Dana just mentioned in direct and indirect property taxes, which we still stand behind today. We talked about current wage rates in the $6.8 million range of direct and indirect jobs generated. We stand behind that today. 18.8 million of construction jobs, direct and indirect. We stand behind that today. And the $16 million annually in off-site spending on my property. A good part of which is beneficial to the downtown. I stand by those numbers today, and Russ Tebow, as a part of my development team, is here tonight to speak to that if you have any questions. As Dana mentioned, the parking garage is not a solution to all of Portsmouth's parking problems. It is, however, a part of a solution. When I was here a year ago, we said that approximately 300 spots would be available roughly day in and day out. to the public that is not necessarily involved with this new development. I stand by that today. And I have people here that are able to speak to that and why that is the case. It went on to continue to talk about how we would use the parking that possibly was associated with this development agreement that wasn't used by my property, the 325 spots that's been talked about, could be, if I'm not using them, you can double sell them. So it isn't as simple as saying, well, I'm going to take 325 every day, because we're not. We're under a management agreement. Dana alluded to that. We're becoming a part of a greater management agreement to manage 1,700 spots of parking controlled by public venues. I additionally, of course, have another couple of hundred that are across the street. There's more than 1,900, almost 2,000 parking places that are involved here. Let's not talk about what isn't real when it comes to parking. Let's talk about the reality of it. I've read about desires for 80, 90,000 square foot convention centers here. Well, I'm sorry. I'm here to report that that isn't part of what Portsmouth wanted for their conference facility. They specifically went through a series of public meetings, of discussions and venues, and gave us the opinion in the Northern Tier study that as between Alternative A in that 20,000 or so range and Alternative B, which was in the 70,000 range, Portsmouth didn't want the big convention center in the 70-plus range. So this, and they wanted 100 to 200 rooms, not 400 rooms that you might build in order to do, a 30 or 20,000 square foot facility. They wanted 100 to 200. That's why this particular plan hits those marks, all right, right on the button. I'm coming to you in a partnership to say we're going to try to build what's in the Northern Tier. And it mentions Jokens. All right? And I'm proud to say that maybe I get to step, all right, in another direction of the leadership that they showed over the years with their center. It's become even more important that we get this done to help replace what we've lost there, much less gain more. So I think, very strongly that this study, what we're presenting, is right in line with what was discussed in all of the public sessions since '99, become a part of the master plan, and we're not trying to deviate from that because we're building what Portsmouth said they wanted. I'm not trying to build something else. The other part of the summary that you had talked about the need for larger conferences on a regional basis that we could bring to Portsmouth if this center was available. We're talking about net new business coming into this area. And we talked about a facility that had one space of 11,000 square feet. Guess what? It's here. We talked about, all right, a facility that could take 6,800 square feet of additional meetings and smaller banquets. Guess what? It's here. I stand by this plan meeting what was in the Northern Tier study, and I have been asked to present to this city. Well, we haven't had a chance, and we didn't at the last meeting. I think we chatted. I'm not really angry. Anybody hear me?
No.
Am I on?
Yeah.
You're on.
You are now?
Okay, good. Well, let me step around here. Your packet's similar to what we did last time. Nothing's changed since the last meeting in terms of the perspectives of what we are looking at, this being the perspective from Market and Russell. This being the perspective of coming up Russell to Beer Street. Right. And this being a perspective of what the garage at Maplewood and Deer would look like. But you also have in your packages, and we've had the chance now to meet in several workshops with the HDC, who I might add have been invaluable, frankly, in getting some further concepts into this plan. And, certainly we're going to thank them in advance. But what you have in your plans now, level B, in essence, is the Maplewood and the tracks level, if you will. All right. So what's happening is you have some parts of the parking garage here in the gray shaded area. And we're going to follow these up because it amounts to 657 parking places. This area, which sits, in effect, under the conference center and the Westin, is 82 spots. These 82 spots are a part and parcel of what is run directly with the Westin and the conference center. So when we talk about the parking garage, it's the shaded area, the 657 spots. These plans will add up to something like 769. All right. That includes, however, the 82 spots that we're owning underneath the conference center. And if you were to take the number of spots that's in your development agreement and were to add the 82, you'd only come up to 739. You'd say, well, how come I'm showing 30 more? Because the bottom line is I'm trying to get more. I'm not trying to add to the 15 million. I'm trying to get more parking places for it. And I think I can do that. So at any rate, just in case anybody needs to bring that one up, we'll dispense with it right now. So we have parking on this level that is part of the parking garage that the city will administer. We move up to the level of Deer and Russell Street, and you can see some of the layout. There's that main exhibit hall we were talking about of the 11,000 square feet. We have kitchen facilities, pre-function facilities, drop-off, additional conference rooms. And it's been talked about that this conference center is, and you'll see in your agreement, 18,500 square feet. The 18,500 square feet is what's normally in the industry sold as the space where people actually sit, as you do today. It's not the pre-function space, the gathering space before people go in. It's not the space for breakout meeting rooms. All right. It's not the space for kitchens. It's not the space for storage. All right. If you really look, and I think there's a handout in what you have, the conference space here of the 18 is augmented by pre-conference, all right, types of spaces, and we're a tick over 30,000 square feet. So, again, this is not just a conference center that in any way, shape, or form would be built just because I'm building a 200-room Westin. No. In fact, it would be much smaller. So at any rate, you see some of the layout in terms of how this works on the Russell Street level. There's a restaurant out on the end, which takes advantage of some of the views, all right, towards the water, and most importantly, starts to get a hold of views looking back toward Nobles Island. One thing that the HDC came up with, which was great, is the concept of coming in off of Russell Street and up the back of the building and out to Maplewood so that the deliveries and that sort of thing would stay on the back. It eliminated an extra service entrance out front on Deer Street and allowed us to just have the entrance here for the public parking garage. And, it just made a much better traffic flow. So the Gateway Park can sit here on the other side of Green Street, and we're able to utilize this space. And that was made possible because I was able to work with Guilford Transportation and purchase railroad land that helps this parcel do what we're showing here today. Moving on up. That was a sitcom, wasn't it? Something like that. We have, again, levels of parking in the shaded areas. This is a one level, as you may remember, of the conference center. So we have a roof garden over that. We have a water treatment on the end of the garage that's a part of that garden area. And you have a couple of more conference rooms as part of the conference space itself, that 30,000+ square feet. And then you begin your rooms for the hotel. Now, let's talk about the hotel. I am extremely pleased to confirm that Starwood is in agreement that this can be, as a member of their family of brands, a Westin hotel. That is, as things are tiered these days, what we might call upper scale. Sheraton is upper. So it is an opportunity to bring to the downtown, this downtown in Portsmouth, that kind of a quality of space and participation by the people who will come here and leave some of the money that Russ Tebow talks about in his applied economics research study, okay, and then leave without creating schools and everything else costs. So, in any case, we are looking at the Hilton Garden construction as being an important addition to the downtown. We're going to need more rooms. We'll let others talk about that. I know, as I alluded to earlier, that I'd be building twice the rooms to support this conference facility, the one that Portsmouth wanted. So anyway, moving on up, you have, a continuation of rooms. As we get to this is the level that crosses over above the street, with the bridge. Again, parking here. City's devising line by deed is right here, runs up that side of the building. This is all open. Rooms running down this side of the hotel, which runs along the length of Russell Street. Another level, again, of rooms. We've even given you the count on one of these sheets of how they're built into kings and doubles and all the hotel jargon. On the fifth level, we start some of the condominiums on this side of the hotel, and this side relates to rooms again, all of which are looking down at the top of the largest area of the conference center and creating a lower scale on Deer Street. So you're on Deer, you're looking at a higher scale of the hotel on the end of it, dropping down, across, up again where the parking garage is. And then, of course, the top level of the hotel that is also showing the last section of the garage, and then an addition of condominiums here. So we felt that this responded, as I say, to what we understood the city of Portsmouth wanted. And it's in black and white. I don't have to belabor the point any longer. You get it. So, something that I don't, always talk about, but I guess I'll blow my horn a little bit because it was in your executive study. Steve Griswold's demonstrated through the successful partnership with the Sheraton that public-private partnerships work. In June of '99, 9 years after maturity, this developer paid $2.9 million to the city. The balance on the Urban Development Action Grant loans taken out in '83. That created a development pool here that could benefit any number of other people that have been looking at doing things downtown. Well, I feel lately that some of my integrity has been a bit maligned. So I am going to respond. I think that I've tried to be a good corporate citizen here. I think I've personally tried to involve myself in the things that make this city be what it is. I think this proposal tries to respond to what the city has asked Steve Griswold to do. And I think that deserves, some additional consideration. Been here a long time. I'm a proven partner. And I don't think the least thing that I would do is not tell you the truth. So, that's all this comes down to. This agreement takes the next step in the process. And we've got zoning boards and planning boards and HDC boards and other things that need to be done. And they all have their specific levels of expertise. And any one of those in that process needs to be sure that Portsmouth's plan and my plan, is going to make sense. And I'm prepared to move ahead in all of those areas. And I guess, as a competitor, I believe that all boats can rise on the tide. It's my philosophy, I guess. I look at what others do, and I try to adopt that of which makes sense to me to try to make myself better. I don't stand in opposition, and I haven't ever in this community, to doing what I think helps this community get those boats up in the air. Every time anybody else builds something or I build something that creates more interest in the Portsmouth community at large, more looks, all right, then more people are going to be willing to be here and spend the money that we all hope we can enjoy as citizenry. So, I understand the competition's tough, all right? I really do. I wouldn't want to compete with me either. But the reality is, all right, we do compete, but we all work together. I need other rooms, all right, in this community market share to make this conference center work. And that was anticipated in the Northern Tier study. That's why we said 100 to 200 rooms, not 400. And I think that's why we're responding as we are. So my development team is here, all right, the architect from Icon, and Don Peterson, who was a part of the Sheraton thing several years ago and is part of this proposal. Malcolm McNeil is the local attorney who will be working with us through the boards. All right. Russ Tebow from Applied Economics Research. And they're all here essentially to answer your questions. And I simply ask you to move this process along and let it proceed to other boards. All right. This is not the last step tonight. This is only the next step. And we have a lot of work to do to get to the goal line. So I'd like your participation in trying to get there. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, very much. I'd like the city consultant to come down to the podium, say a few words.
Yes, Ron, just to have Robert Crawford from Hospitality Resolutions Inc. come forward and give his findings. The city did retain our own consultant, and he will advise the council as to what he has found out. Robert?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Thanks for the opportunity to be here for you. And I'll try to be brief, and to a certain extent I'll touch on some of the things that others have touched on, only because I've looked at them on your behalf. You've been my client. My obligation has been to the City of Portsmouth, and we were asked to complete an economic review, an independent review of the applicant's proposal. Included in that was an examination of the reports of the economic feasibility of the project, but more than that, to review the building concepts, to review the product, to review the strategies, to make sure that the hotel has a viable chance to succeed so that it can make a contribution to the City of Portsmouth. We took a look at the layout of the hotel, the guest rooms, the meeting rooms, the restaurants, the lounges, the services, the amenities. We considered the franchise flag. We took a look at the market segments that were going to be addressed in the hotel's marketing issue, where they were going to market the hotel, who those target customers were, whether there's growth in those markets. So perhaps numbers are my game, but I need to make sure when I do an assignment like this that there's a strategy that underlies the numbers that make sense. And I think it does. And I'd like to touch on a couple of reasons why. First of all, I think the key results that come out of this study for the City of Portsmouth is that whether it started out as the primary objective or not, it ends up as the primary objective. This hotel has the potential to sustain and improve the economic viability of the central business district. And as I see it, that's the first result. And it does so by increasing the flow of tourism dollars to the region. And it also has a side benefit as we go along, and somebody mentioned competition today. Portsmouth is very much in competition. And this project and this proposal can sustain and improve Portsmouth's position among other locations, including Boston, Portland, Concord, Nashua, Manchester, all of which are competing for tourist and conference revenues. So those are the key results that I see coming out of it that benefit the city. The facility itself, when I took a look at the conference facility, I was very concerned about, the whole subject of, are we diluting demand or are we expanding demand? And I spent a lot of time on that. Well, the largest single meeting room here, as you know, in the proposal is 11,000 square feet, and that can accommodate over 1,000 attendees, or 700 to 800 persons for a seated function. in banquet style. When I took a look at that, I said, well, if the hotel succeeds in drawing 800 people, we'll say, or 600 people to a particular conference or convention at a particular point in time, it's not going to have 600 or 800 rooms in those two hotels. In fact, today's business says that the reservation systems of Sheraton and Westin are already going to block out a number of those rooms. They're already taken. In addition, the management of the hotel and managing the hotel are going to have certain corporate relationships that they're going to honor through thick or thin. So you're not going to have an inventory of 321 rooms available when you have these 800 people come in town to a convention. It just isn't going to happen. But what is going to happen is you're going to create excess demand, and that demand is going to ripple out to the other hotels. And that's very fundamental to my understanding as to why this project will work. There's other reasons why other hotels will get excess demand from this project. Many of you are probably, like myself, travel. Many people who travel today carry what we call frequent rewards cards. Marriott has 15 million members in their frequent guest program. Hilton has a like amount. It's probably the same people, but I've often gone to conferences where people say, I'm going to a conference at the Westin, but I'm staying at the Courtyard because I want to earn my Marriott points. That goes on all the time. And the third reason that this hotel conference center will create incremental demand is there will be a segment, particularly when we look at association business, group associations, and employee groups like the teachers associations. People will come to a conference with the idea, I want to go to the conference, but I want to save a little money on the hotel. So they're going to seek out another hotel in the immediate market area that they can stay at, but they're going to attend a conference at the Westin Conference Center. So when I look at those 3 or 4 issues, I wanted to say that it's my finding that this hotel will create excess demand that will benefit other hotels in the marketplace. And also, the hotel's been designed to expand the market. The conference center has been designed to attract groups, professional, civic, and association groups, which cannot be accommodated today in the marketplace in Portsmouth. The facilities at the Sheraton or the Wentworth can only accommodate 250 to 300 for banquets and 325 for theater-style seating. So here again, there's a certain block of the market, Mass Teachers Association, New Hampshire Teachers Association, nurses, doctors, you're blocked out from bringing them into this community. So by focusing on conference and group attendees, I think you'll expand the market instead of diluting the market among competing hotels. The other nice thing about conference and association group business, it tends to meet in the spring and the fall. Those are not the peak periods for lodging. It tends not to meet in July and August, which is the peak period for leisure lodging. It tends to meet midweek and not on weekends. So I think there's a balancing and a filling in of the hospitality calendar presented by the opportunity to build a conference center. So by virtue of the conference center, the last benefit you'll get is that somebody who attends a conference in Portsmouth will come back again with his family or himself as a leisure destination guest. And that frequently happens. People's first introduction to a city is to a conference, and then they decide to come back. So I need to define for myself, there's a lot of operational and strategic reasons why this hotel will work. It's not just a numbers game. The next thing I looked at is I did read Russell Thibault's economic impact study, which many in Portsmouth have read by now. And I decided I wanted to do an independent confirmation of the economic impact. So I found that the University of Michigan maintains a tourism model that deals with economic impact and multipliers. And I reviewed this material, and I took my projections and ran them through the tourist model maintained by the University of Michigan, which I think is nationally recognized. And in doing so, I confirmed that this project is, and it's a bit of an art and not a science. So I projected that this project is expected to attract 120 to 140,000 visitors on an annual basis. 65% of them are expected to be overnight hotel guests. That's 78,000. And the balance are likely to be day visitors. You're going to bring a lot of people here from Nashville and Manchester, Boston and Portsmouth and Portland. In our estimates, daily spending will be approximately $80 to $100 a day of somebody in for a convention, excluding the lodging component. That'll be separate. That'll result in total direct spending of 10 to 12 million, and that should induce added spending of 4 to 5 million as money ripples through the economy. So that confirms what has been said here about the $16 million worth of impact on the sales side. Job creation, independent model, ran it through, 300 permanent jobs, 160 at the hotel, the remainder in restaurants, service industries, retail industries, in and around the Portsmouth market area. Wage impact, $7 million, close to Russ's number. Construction jobs, looking at construction costs and saying that 40% of those would be labor, we came out with 16 to 18 million. So I did do an absolutely independent confirmation of the economic impact study, and I think that the similarities are overpowering. It's bound to be, somewhere in that area. I also looked at hotel and condominium residences, looked at the current tax rates, and it would appear to be even over $700,000, maybe $750,000 annual tax contribution. I looked at other benefits. Project will initiate a vital program, the redevelopment of the northern tier. The project will span further development in the northern tier. And, as you go all up and down the seacoast from the mid-Atlantic states right up to Maine, you find that people are redeveloping the waterfront areas, and this is a continued effort at opening up parts from the downtown to the waterfront. And I think in that direction, it's to be commended. Now, having said that, I did an independent projection of the feasibility of the project. And I ran separate models, and the project, including the hotel, the conference center, and the condominium residences, but excluding the garage, represents a capital commitment of about $50 to $55 million. The project is expected, and I can demonstrate to any financing source, but the project is expected to provide returns that are sufficient to attract financing. I didn't say they were overwhelming. I said they're sufficient. I will say that, the project could not bear the burden of carrying a $15 million garage and adding that capital cost up to $70 million. I do this for a living, and I couldn't run an economic justification at that level. The final thing I took a look at is the whole issue of direct versus indirect subsidies. A number of cities, large and small, resort areas or commercial areas, faced with looking at hotels of similar size and similar style, have developed those hotels with direct subsidies. Commonly we see a TIF, tax incentive financing, with a total reinvestment of real estate taxes, incremental real estate taxes, to pay down the cost of public infrastructure. Frankly, that's done quite frequently today. But this project is being developed without a direct subsidy, in my view, because the bond for the garage development is being paid from future parking revenues and lease payments from the hotel. Just as an example, one that I found that's comparable, and that is there's a hotel in Virginia Beach, Virginia. It happens to be a Westin hotel. It's a 215-room hotel. It's being built to help some economic revitalization. It's going to have 140 condominiums on it. It's developed by Amata Hoffler. That's one of the larger construction companies in the Mid-Atlantic under a TIF financing program. That private investment of $130 million, which includes the hotel, the restaurants, the retail, the condominiums, and public space, is being supported by the city. The city is putting in up to $28 million for an 1,100-space parking facility and a 10,000-foot ballroom and all sidewalks and street improvements. So that goes way beyond where you're going with this proposal. And this is part of an ongoing program there where that city has invested $44 million to encourage private investment of $173 million. And I'm not saying that's right for Portsmouth. What I am saying, it's very common to see these kind of projects get some lift and support. And in your case and in our view, it's not lift and support that's coming off the tax rolls. I want to conclude with some of the concern I've heard expressed about whether this is good for the whole lodging market here in Portsmouth. And we took a look at some statistics that we'd all would agree. We go to a data bank called Smith Travel Research, and we all go there, and these are the numbers that we got for the Portsmouth market. During the 5-year period, 1999 through 2004, your room supply increased by 23%. That's the number of rooms. And what caused that increase was principally the addition of the Wentworth Hotel coming on in 2003, which I see in your inventory. The room demand almost kept pace with that. It went up by 17%. So we had a growth in supply at 23. We had a growth in demand of 17. But occupancy has trailed off from 71 to 68%. I don't see that as significant in light of the supply increase and in light of what we've experienced all throughout New England with what we call the lingering recession, which keeps popping up. I took a longer look, and, this is a very healthy lodging market. From 1995 to 2003, this market saw 4 new hotels come on board and get absorbed. The Hampton, the Courtyard, the Residence, and Wentworth by the Sea. 514 rooms were added to the market. And the market didn't crater, and you didn't have any fallout. We're now looking at another growth cycle. That's all it is. And we're looking at 4 hotels coming in. The Hilton Hotel with 131 rooms, the Homewood at 106, the Westin at 181, and the one that I recently saw announced, I call the Kearsarge Hotel, at 100. That's 518 rooms. And I would say to you that that added supply will be absorbed in the coming cycle, just as the 518 rooms were absorbed in the prior cycle. Portsmouth has a dynamic lodging market. You have historical attributes here, which are very marketable. You just don't have enough rooms downtown to bring groups here to see them. And I would like to say, I feel this is a very justifiable project, not only from the numbers standpoint, the physical plan, and the operating strategies. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, sir. Now I'm going to go to our counselors for questions and answers. Who has a question? Harold?
Why me?
Sorry, Counselor White.
Really, I think the most important part is under the city management's presentation.
All right.
Items that need to be as action for us. That's when
Okay. All
my
right.
opinion.
But, you don't have anything else that you'd like to get out right now? No? Okay. Nothing on this side? Very good. Well, I want to thank everyone very much, and I know you're going to stay around for the public comment session. But at this time, I'm going to ask...
Donna?
Yes.
At this time, I'd like to ask the council to suspend the rules and take up item 11A2 under items that request action so that we can deal with the superintendent of schools contract. And that can let those people who are waiting for that go home.
Right, right.
So,
Second.
Thank you.
Very good. It's moved and seconded. Discussion? Being no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Very good. Thank you, Joanne. Now we're down...
Your Honor, I'd like to move that we... Excuse me?
What?
I'd like to move that we accept the 3-year contract between the Portsmouth School Board and Dr. Robert Lister.
Second.
Very good, Joanna. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Very good. Okay. Now we're down to the acceptance of the minutes for October 17th, 2005. What's your wish, councilors?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right. They're all set. Now, Joanne, I'm going to ask you to do a little job to help me out here. As you can see, we have 28 speakers for the public comment session, and if you could read them off as they approach the bench. I'd appreciate that. Now, I think you all know that is sitting out there how the public comment session works. It is 3 minutes, and when our city attorney holds up the thank you notice, that means please sit down. And Bob, did you?
Your Honor, I feel I should point out that if each speaker is allowed 3 minutes, public comment session will run well over an hour, and the rule would ordinarily limit that session to 45 minutes.
Okay, so what would you like to do?
I think
Cut it
the
down?
council's options are to reduce the amount of time per speaker,
Mm-hmm.
to reduce the number of speakers, end the thing after 45 minutes, or to suspend the rule to allow everyone to speak for 3 minutes.
Very good.
Your Honor, I move that we suspend the rules in reference to the 45-minute issue.
Very good.
Second.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. All right, Joanne, it's in your court.
Okay, the first one is Christine Margot, who wants to speak on the Sheridan.
My name is Christine Mayu, and I live at 64 Bridge Street in Portsmouth. I am here to emphatically request that the City Council reject the proposed agreement between the City of Portsmouth and Harbor Corps, and I will focus on 2 reasons why. First, the EDC and City Manager's Office have both spoken in favor of going forward with this proposal because they feel it is part of the larger plan to increase the amount of available spaces for businesses and visitors. The operative word in that statement is available. This plan flies directly in the face of that goal. The undisputed fact of the matter is that before the first guest generated by this development enters the city, the amount of available spaces in the 657-space garage will number no more than 490. Spaces lost to the development have to be accounted for. Using the city's own guidelines relative to parking impact, the demand will exceed supply in the garage by hundreds of spaces. Making parking in the garage available to public versus available to hotel guests only is simply a matter of semantics. When parking isn't available to one or the other once they enter the city, especially during the peak May through October tourist and convention seasons, we all lose. Secondly, this is a bad deal for the Portsmouth taxpayer who might be interested in seeing the promised reduction in their taxes associated with a development boom in downtown. By entering into this agreement, Harbor Corps is able to circumvent the tax liability associated with owning a projected $15 million parking garage and the $1.8 million tract of land that it'll sit upon. Interestingly enough, I don't remember seeing that parcel of land assessed for $1.8 million on the city's current tax rolls, but that is apparently what Harbor Corps is looking for in compensation. I question the figures presented last September by Applied Economic Resources at the Sheridan's request to the EDC, which are continuously cited by both the EDC and City Manager's Office regarding the benefits associated with the development of this project, particularly the tax benefit, and request the Council look further into them. Each day I read more about the proposed growth of this project. From looking for a variance to build over 60 feet high to add a 6th floor, to adding 21 condos to the design, it becomes more and more apparent that this is a freight train running out of control and the danger it is creating centers right in the downtown. City councilors, put on the brakes. The advancement of this project is being cited as a catalyst for further development downtown. The parking impact fee needs to be and is being revisited. The current fee is inherently set up to deter small businesses and is laughable to large developers, those with the potential for disastrous impact on downtown. As it stands now, Harbor Corps could just go ahead and build this project without providing their own parking by simply paying a minute parking impact fee for a project of this size. Do not proceed any further until the downtown and the taxpayers are protected. We currently have 2 large-scale developments under construction downtown who have not created parking to satisfy their own needs and whose effects have not yet been realized. Let's not make it 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Christine, I would like to say to you, any other letters that are sent to me and the councilors have to be signed.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Next is Ray Will, and on the process.
What's that?
As a point of order.
Keep the balloons.
Take
The sign.
Yeah, the signs might be in the way.
Sign down. Okay. Ms. Steve. Steve, will you take this? Oh, great. Thank you.
Ray Will, 125 Preble Way. First, before I get into the process, I want to give a personal thank you to the mayor and the city clerk, Kelly Barnaby. I volunteer Wednesdays for the Salvation Army. They have a program called Kids Club. It's an afternoon program of religious instruction and other instruction. And one of the things we were learning about last week was citizenship. And I'd asked some weeks ago to ask the mayor if she would come over and talk with 20 to 40 kids from the Salvation Army on citizenship. Our city clerk was also kind enough to volunteer, and sure enough, the city clerk and the mayor showed up on Wednesday of last week, and they arrived with 60 sample ballots and 2 voting booths. The mayor enchanted the kids with a discussion on good citizenship, looking out for one another, our neighborhoods, respecting the flag, and of course, voting. The city clerk and I, though, we got the fun part. We lined the kids up and crossed off all their names on the attendance list. And each time a child would come up and get their name crossed off and get their sample ballot, each child would look at us in the eye and say, "Who are these people? I don't know any of these people. Who are these people?" And because the line was long, we had to say the following response more than a few times. It's not important who's running. It's the process that you're learning today that's important. The process was also important last week when the council approved a machine recount the next day. In my opinion, it changed the situation from something that was unfair to one candidate to something that was unfair for 2 candidates. If we accept, as I do, that the machine is 99.5 to 99.9% accurate, with 4,000 votes cast, that's a margin of error of between 4 and 40 votes. The margin of victory was 2, just 2. What if the loser of the election wins the recount by 8 votes? 8 votes. That's still within the margin of error. How is this fair for anyone? Well, thankfully, just before the meeting tonight, the city attorney announced that a hand recount will be done next week, according to state law, and that it will be done with the help of the city clerk, some observers from both campaigns, as well as ward moderators and, I believe, selectmen from each ward. Personally, if there's going to be any judgment calls made in this election, I trust the judgment calls to be made to that team of humans a lot more than any robot vote counter. Look, Salvation Army is not going to have any opinion on any recount in any election ever, but it's nice to know that this Wednesday when I go see those kids, I'm going to be able to look them in the eye and say, when the going got tough and democracy got a little messy, the city of Portsmouth chose to understand that it's not who's running, it's the process that counts. Thanks.
Thank you, Ray.
Oh, and I did want to send these nice little balloons, one for the mayor and one for the city clerk.
Oh, that's sweet.
And we have some spare pins. We don't want you to fall into the wrong.
Oh, okay. Very good. They loved the pins, didn't they? I brought a bag of city pins. The kids went crazy, didn't they? Okay, Joanne.
Next would be Jim Splain on recount things.
Thank you very much. I'm Jim Splain, 201 Oriental Gardens, Portsmouth. I'm a New Hampshire state representative, and it is as such that I got involved on the issue that I think is resolved very well concerning the recount. My constituent, John Hines, and I would have done that for any of the members of the city council, considered that he wanted a recount, and he contacted me. Since I'm a member of the House Election Law Committee for the past decade, I've had a lot of experience on recounts, attending a number of recounts in Concord, and I saw the problem right away. And this has become much more than just a discussion about a recount request by one candidate who was out of the running by 2 votes. It became an issue about democracy and the process, as previous speakers said. And I'm here tonight not with balloons, but with thank yous to City Attorney Bob Sullivan and to the City Clerk, Kelly Barnaby. I met with them today along with John Hines, Bill St. Lawrence, who was a couple of votes ahead at this point, and a representative who he had to talk about the process. And I understand the Attorney General's office as well as the Secretary of State's office, both of whom I've talked with during the past several days, got involved not to tell Portsmouth what to do, but instead, most importantly, to point out what the state law is regarding proper recounts. And it is because of the skill and the experience of our city clerk and the city attorney that they understood the problem. And I think they have worked out a tremendous process for next Monday, which is going to guarantee the rights of all of the people involved, because it is, bottom line, our rights as voters. Lastly, I would like to say that I particularly want to, as one citizen, thank John Hines, who I think has been under considerable pressure since last Wednesday, asking for a recount that some people have wondered, why are you doing this? Why do you insist that it must be by hand count? Why are you threatening to go to court if you need to? I think we as citizens are seeing a precedent set in Portsmouth that if a recount is done in the future, it is going to be done the proper way. And that's a very important thing for anybody to do. So for John, no matter what happens at this recount, I think you've done a class act on this. You've done something that is going to contribute to the future in preserving democracy in Portsmouth for everybody. And no matter who wins, I think the rights of everybody are going to be protected by the agreements agreed to by the city clerk and the city attorney. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Next, we have Sue Polidorov, who would like to speak about parking during snow emergencies.
Good evening. My name is Sue Polidora. I live in Middle Street in Portsmouth. And this is a statement that I wrote right after a big snowstorm last year. And I put it in my computer and I said, I got to do something about it, and I forgot. Then summer came, and I think it was a Freudian lapse that prevented me from thinking about snow in the middle of the summer. But now I think I must revisit the subject again, and I need to put this on in order to read it to you. Honorable Mayor and City Council, I'm a longtime resident of Portsmouth, and my current place of residence does not provide dedicated parking, but only street parking. During the recent snowstorm back in February, I decided rather than shoveling 25 plus inches of snow off my car that I should park at the High Hanover parking garage instead. Prior to doing so, I called the garage, and this was in the middle of a snow emergency, by the way, to make sure there was parking available, and to my surprise, I was told that there were almost 500 available parking spaces. Why would there be so many empty spaces in the middle of a citywide parking ban, and when the forecasted snowfall would be somewhere between 20 and 30 inches, I questioned. All I could think of is the cost. At 75 cents an hour, when you could possibly be there for several days, the cost does add up. My suggestion to the City Council is to consider parking vouchers for residents at reduced rates at the High Hanover garage, made available to the residents who, like myself, do not have off-street parking. The voucher would be honored when parking bans are declared and will only be available to residents. Now, the benefits. It will encourage residents to use parking garage and get their vehicles off city streets during snow emergencies. It would generate revenue for the city, filling unused capacity at the parking garage. And it would generate goodwill among those who believe that Portsmouth is becoming financially oppressive. It is my goal, and with this proposal, is to create a win-win situation or a proposition by bringing together users and availability of resources, and it is my hope that the City Council will consider my suggestion and enact it as soon as is feasibly possible. Since then, the parking that we use in the area where I live in Middle Street, I just recently found out that the area where we park, which is at the Masonic Temple, is no longer going to be available during snow emergencies. It supposedly leaves the city between the working hours, and I was told that stops at 7 o'clock at night. Since most snow emergencies are declared after that, that means that the residents for this area, we were going to have to rely on walking the distance between Middle Street and the High Hanover parking garage during the middle of, snowy situations, it will create a hazard. And I will greatly appreciate that you consider giving us some way of taking advantage of parking at the High Hanover garage without having to pay excess bills.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Rob Robertson from UNH wanting to speak on the Sheridan.
Hi, my name, I guess I spoke to you this summer sometime too, but I'm the coordinator of the Tourism Planning and Development Program at the University of New Hampshire in the Department of Resource Economics and Development. And I just wanted to speak, and I guess I teach a course in tourism planning, and in that course we spend a lot of time talking about public-private partnerships and how looking at some kind of sustainable future, it has to be a bunch of different groups and interests working together. And I think in my review, and I've followed this project closely, and I think everybody's really done their homework, and I just think that this is a good project, and I think you should consider it.
Thank you. Thank you. Peter Weeks on the Sheridan.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, my name is Peter Weeks. 25 years ago, I sat in the same seats that you're sitting in, when the first UDAG grant was awarded to the city of Portsmouth, which at the time was the largest UDAG grant per capita done in the United States. That was for the partnership between the Sheridan and the city for the construction of the original Sheridan. The Sheridan has become an excellent corporate citizen of the city of Portsmouth during the past 25 years. And 25 years ago, when the plan was first discussed, there was the extra piece of land across the street, which is now the proposed site for the conference center. That has always been in the plan to be developed, and it is nice to see that Mr. Griswold and his firm has gone ahead and made the proposal to you based upon the Northern Tier study that you commissioned. And I think that the council would be very fortunate to be able to enter into the agreement with the Sheridan for the construction of this new facility, and will enjoy the same rewards that it has during the 25 years from the first project. And I hope that you will confirm that this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Marge Hubbard from the Sheridan. On the Sheridan.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. I'm Marge Hubbard from the Portsmouth Chamber of Commerce and the Tourism Manager. As most of you know, I've been working with the city and with the Chamber for about 5 years to promote tourism to the Portsmouth area and the seacoast. One of the gaps that we have had over the last couple of years, especially since Jokins has been gone, is a space large enough for meetings larger than 200, 250 people to come. This will open some doors for us in terms of encouraging groups to come here, and as was mentioned earlier, often people come here, see what we have, and come back for a vacation on their own. Or they go home and they tell friends and family what a great place this is. So I feel that this is a wonderful proposal and a joint partnership between the city and the Sheraton to bring forth this program. And I'm here to present to you a letter from our President, Dick Ingram, in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Robin Whitaker on the Sheraton.
Good evening. I'm Robin Whitaker. I own the Alza Shell Steamship Company. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Sheridan. I've been involved for 20 years, and I think it's really important to talk about, I've been involved with the Chamber and been involved with the Tourism Committee for the past 6 years. And through the past 6 years, there have just been numerous, endless meetings that involve small businesses, downtown, retail shops, the arts, the culture, nonprofits, and businesses, including the Sheridan, always trying to figure out how do we get more people here, how do we get more customers through the doors to support through the long winters. And Over the years, there's a lot that's happened. The city's partnership with the Chamber and the $30,000 that goes towards economic development and tourism has been greatly appreciated and very helpful. 6 years ago, the Chamber was not getting any JPP matching grants from the state government, and now under the leadership of Marge and the staff, they're raising up close to $30,000, which is matched by members, small businesses, et cetera, of Portsmouth to help promote and figure out how to bring more people into the area to support their businesses. And of course, there's been the expansion. There's been the Sheraton, the Marriott Courtyard, the Marriott Hotel, the Hilton Garden, now the proposed conference center. But along with that, there's also been a lot of other wonderful things. There's been the incredible growth of Market Square, the Snowflake Festival, my personal favorite, Children's Day. Most recently, the Downtown Business Association has created a partnership with the city and the parking voucher program, and of course this summer the street closings and the Portsmouth Peace Treaties. And what all these events say is that it's through the creativity, the perseverance, the entrepreneurship, the dedication, and the collaboration of the businesses, the volunteers, the residents, the city officials of Portsmouth all working together to make things happen. It's not always easy and we make mistakes, but I think we all go back to the table and figure out how to make it work. And my message tonight is to just keep looking at this large picture and not to get hung up on the possibility of a potential parking problem if there are 1,200 more people in town for a conference, particularly when there are going to be additional parking places. Downtown businesses, not-for-profits, the arts, the cultures, they need these visitors. And they're not all going to come by cars. We have an airport, we have a wonderful bus system, there's trains, there's taxis, and some people even have friends that will go pick them up and bring them into the conferences. And I don't really think that, in the scheme of things, looking at 1,200 people, considering the sheer numbers, the thousands and thousands that come for the Children's Day, and the 50,000 to 100 that come from Market Square Day, that we've been able to figure out a way to accommodate them because we do collaborate. Just on Market Street alone, from the church to the Albacore, sometimes the Port Authority, we try to offer our facility, and even Granite State Minerals, when they can, has opened up their gates to try to allow for parking and working with the trolley service to bring people into town. And I just feel that if there are parking problems, that I'm comfortable with the Sheraton's track record and leadership and those in the business community, residents, volunteers, we can all come together and say, hey, you know, there's a conference coming, what can we do? And I thank you for the opportunity to share that.
Thank you. Thank you. June Gallagher, Sheridan.
Good evening. My name is June Gallagher. I reside in downtown Portsmouth, and I have been working at the Sheraton Harborside for 18 years, and currently am the Director of Catering. I'm here to support the development that Mr. Griswold has offered you tonight, and I want to let you know that that will allow us to grow each one of my staff members and colleagues in the present and in the future. And I hope that you will consider it.
Thank you. Thank you. Malcolm McNeil, Harbor Corps, Sheridan.
My name is Malcolm McNeil. I'm an attorney with my office at 180 Locust Street in Dover. I'll be representing the applicant during the various stages of the land use reviews here in Portsmouth. In an act of unusual transparency, Ocean Properties last week went to the Portsmouth Herald to indicate their opposition to this plan. I'd like to give you some context in which to assess the credibility of that opposition. Before you, I placed this package, which related to some prior activity of Ocean Properties with regard to two other hotel proposals in this community. One related to the Ramsey Hotel and one related to a Hilton Hotel, in which 1,000 Market Street representatives came out in opposition. The reason I'd like to talk about transparency and issues in this case is that transparency hasn't been the common modus operandi with regard to opposition. In referring to a Portsmouth Herald article of 22303, a person named Michael Bosher was a plaintiff in this lawsuit brought by Thomas Keene on behalf of 1,000 Marketplace. This is what the article said. When contacted by telephone this past week, Bosher was surprised to learn he was identified as the first petitioner. He said, I am? He said, Keene and Taylor called me and asked if I was opposed to the project. I told them I was. I never heard from them again. Taylor and Keene do not represent me, said Boscia. I never signed anything or gave them oral permission. I'm totally shocked that they're using my name. Then he said further, even though he supports the lawsuit to prevent the 100-room hotel, Boscia, he's the plaintiff, said Keene is working to help his clients monopolize the hotel business in that part of the city rather than protect the interest of Atlantic Heights homeowners. During the processing of that case, a Richard Aide, who also went to the Herald, was deposed. And a question was asked during the processing of the case, do you believe that a hotel on Mr. Ramsey's property would be in competition with the Marriott? His answer was no. So why is he here tonight? The questions went on to say, who does the Marriott view as its competitor in the city of Portsmouth? The response, probably the Sheraton. Anyone else? Not necessarily. Why the Sheraton as opposed to some of the others? Brand awareness. What do you mean by brand awareness? Customers being aware of the brand that has consistent standards, such as a Western. The other case, off of Portsmouth Boulevard, was started in 2003, and the material that I've given to you shows how difficult it was for the zoning board to find out who Mr. Keene was actually representing in that case. That particular project was delayed by 2 years, and at the end of the project, the New Hampshire Supreme Court, in the decision that I've given to you, threw out the lawsuit and the opposition, claiming that 1000 Market Street had no legal grounds whatsoever to bring the lawsuit. And that's the case here with regard to this project as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Next, we have Francis Toscano on the Sheraton.
Thank you. I'm here on behalf of the Lafayette Hotels. We reside at 417 Woodbury Ave. We here tonight voice our opposition to oppose a partnership between the Sheraton as well as the City Council. Since there's been no public hearing on this matter, our knowledge has come from the newspapers as we see. There is no definite need for more public scrutiny of this proposal development, and there are many questions yet to be asked. First of all, what happens if the developer defaults or goes bankrupt? Secondly, how many parking spaces will be available for the public, not for the Sheraton? What happens if there are overcosts involved? Why doesn't the city of Portsmouth build the parking garage themselves? As a business manager, I support heartily competition and the level playing field, but the city has greased the skids to allow a developer to build a project that's not fair. In addition, 200 rooms in the Portsmouth market, that makes sense. If that's the case, let the developer build them without the city's help. Finally, the city needs more parking. Let them build a parking garage themselves, and it should do so without the taxpayers. Nor should the city use borrowed money to subsidize a new private business. We suggest that you vote no on this project tonight. Do the research that you need. Hold this project up to public scrutiny as it deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ecker on city business.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not mad, but my voice is going to be loud. My grandmother would say that sometimes, Wayne, there's a skunk in the woodpile. And then she would say, get it out. And then she would say, you never get something for nothing. It's amazing how people pull these numbers out of the air. Just 700,000, a million here, $130 million here. I think that they ought to spend their own money. Not my money, not your money, not people's money that are in this city. I'm one of the poor people, one of the little people, I guess. There must be an awful lot of people that don't mind bonding this. Where are all the 500 new workers that they say are going to stay? Where are they going to live? They're not going to live in this city because they can't afford to live in this city. So how are they going to get into this city if they live out of this city? You know, it seems like a lot of these people that come up here that are for this project, they've gone to school, a lot of schools, and they're educated, very well educated. They know all the tricks and this and that and the other to do, so that everything sounds rosy to you people, to us. But shame on us all. It's not their money they're using. It's your money and my money and everybody else's money, all the people, little people's money. If this is such a great project, why don't they do it themselves? They should do it themselves. The Sheraton is $1 billion corporation. So we're going to need more police. We're going to need more firemen. We're going to need larger fire trucks. We're going to need more public works people. We're going to need more water. We're going to need more sewer. I'm not against progress. I'm not against progress at all, because I am in construction. Maybe one of the first things that you ought to do, you ought to straighten out, if you're going to have all these rooms and this conference center and all these people coming in, maybe you ought to take care of your sewer treatment plant and get it so those little things don't float up and down the river all the time. And the reason that I know those little things float up and down the river all the time is because my wife is a marine biologist. She works for the power plant. She works for Normandy Associates. And she always says that once in a while. You ought to clean your river up first. Right? It should be cleaned up. The treatment plant should be taken care of. It costs a lot of money to do that, yet you're going to bond something else. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Decker. Jen Hawley from on City, New Hampshire, Martin Luther King Day of March of Justice.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Jen Halley. I'm a staff member with City of New Hampshire. As you know, we're an AmeriCorps organization working to develop young leaders and strengthen communities throughout the state of New Hampshire. And 40 members began their year of service, their 10-month commitment to full-time community service earlier this fall with a public opening day ceremony held at Market Square in downtown Portsmouth. I'm here tonight regarding our request to hold a Martin Luther King Day March of Justice on January 16th, 2006, which we'll be considering later tonight. Our plan, as it states in the letter, is to have between 200 and 400 community members join us for the event, which will be held very much similar to how it has been the past 4 years. The event begins late morning at Portsmouth Middle School with a short morning program, and then is followed with a march through the downtown streets of Portsmouth to honor the life and legacy of Dr. King. We then reconvene at the Portsmouth Middle School for lunch and family-friendly activities held at the school to engage community members of all ages. We're at the beginning stages of this year's planning and have formed a community committee to help us do so, of community members and organizations that are working towards positive social change in Portsmouth. Some of these organizations are the United Way, the Student Conservation Association, Amnesty International, University of New Hampshire, Pro Portsmouth, the NAACP, Seacoast Peace Response, and the Portsmouth Police Department. And myself and these individuals are planning this year's event to make it better than it has been in the past and to contribute to the community celebrations honoring Dr. King. So I'm here in support of our proposal that you'll be considering later tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Martha Clark on the Sheridan.
Thank you very much, Mayor Sorrell and members of the City Council. I am Martha Fuller Clark. I live at 152 Middle Street, and I serve as State Senator for District 24, which includes Portsmouth. I'm here tonight to speak in favor of the proposed agreement between Harbor Corps and the City of Portsmouth. I have lived in Portsmouth for more than 30 years. I have been a resident of the Seacoast, I hate to admit it, for more than 60 years. And I have seen many, many changes, as many of you have, come to the City of Portsmouth. Some have been very good, such as the reconfiguration of Market Square or the conversion of the power plant into Harbor Place. And some, sadly, have not been for the better. Most noticeably was the destruction through urban renewal of the more than 300 homes, 60 small businesses, with 1,000 people displaced in the North End. We then saw that those same 30 acres lay vacant and undeveloped for more than 10 years, while the city waited for the right developer to step forward and forge a public-private partnership to develop the site. Today, I think none of us can question the success of that public-private partnership with the Sheraton, where again there was shared financing and a plan that was put forth and developed between the Sheraton and the city. And for more than 15 years, the hotel has been an outstanding neighbor to the community for tourists and businesses and residences. But during that time, the adjacent parcel has laid fallow, valuable land and ripe for development. In 1999, the Northern Tier Plan, developed with input from planners, residents, and the city, recommended a conference center and a parking garage. The time is now at hand for that, the completion of the beginning, really, of the Northern Tier study, and finally to become a reality. I'm here to speak in favor of both the conference center and the garage. You have heard the benefits that the conference center will bring to the city. I think it's important again to reflect upon the fact that we're looking at that development project providing more than $700,000 per year in increased property tax revenues for the community. Additional revenue that can be used to help support the city and important infrastructure projects. Rather it be, as we heard tonight, the need for the storage treatment plant to be expanded, developed, and address our storage problems. Rather it be for improvements of our roads or our schools, or the possibility that those revenues will be helped to lower taxes. We have heard criticisms on the size of the conference center, but this is the conference center that the city wanted. The city could not absorb a conference center of the size that has been put forth in newspaper articles and elsewhere. If there is a need for a conference center, an exhibit center of that size, it needs to go to the Peace Development Authority, and there may be a time and a place for that in the future. But right now we're looking at what's appropriate for Portsmouth. The other conversation has been around the issue of parking and the parking garage. I need to stop. I'd just like to say that I believe that there are many other alternatives that are being looked at as well to address possible overflow of parking, but we couldn't go forward with this convention center without the parking garage, and I think everyone will stand to benefit from that. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
Jeff Johnson, Sheraton.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Johnston. I'm with Cathartis Private Investments. We're the owners of the Parade Office Mall, the Hilton Garden Inn, and the Harbor Hill condominium projects that are currently under development. I'm here tonight to support the convention, the construction of the convention center. I just want to point out to the board that our Hilton Garden Inn will have about 2,500 square feet of conference space, very small amount, and I think it's important for the continued vitality of the downtown area. Thanks.
Thank you.
Kevin McLeod, Sheraton.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, councilors. I'll be brief. I couldn't speak intelligently about anything for 3 minutes. I can't say anything that hasn't already been said before, all the statistics and whatever. What I can give you is some history. As some of you may know, I'm the bad guy who closed Jokins and the conference center. About 25 years ago, before we had the conference center, the One with Hotel did quite a few conferences, and one that I can remember in particular was the New England Fire Chiefs Association. That always came after Labor Day, and which was a good time. And if you're in business around here, in those days, 25 years ago, everything stopped at Labor Day. That was the end of the season. So they had this big conference down there. Well, a lot of them couldn't afford to eat there, and a lot of them couldn't afford to stay there. I didn't have a hotel at that point, but I would do 200 or 300 extra lunches a day for a week, so that the spin-off is there. a little more history. After I did have the hotel, I did the National Submarine Sailors Association. This is a national convention, and we'd have about 600 of them. I wouldn't give them all the rooms in my hotel. I only have 121 rooms in the Comfort Inn. I'd give them about 65 or 70 rooms because you have a lot of the, like somebody mentioned before, a lot of corporate things coming through the wire that you have to keep, and I'm a Choice International property. And you have regular customers as well. So the spin-off for the rooms that I couldn't let these people have was significant. Also, through the Chamber of Commerce, I receive probably a monthly basis, and it's available to anyone, is the number of conventions and the type of conventions by name that come to Boston. And it tells the average size, where they're going to have their convention at, whatever. And by reading that religiously, I've come to find that most of your conferences average between 200 and 600 attendees. There's not that many that needs the Heinz Auditorium. So I'm here to speak in favor of this proposal. I think that the spin-off is real, and it would happen. And as far as those workers that someone mentioned, where would they stay when they're building that place? They can stay at my hotel. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin, and we miss you, and I miss your liver and onions.
Bill Cahill on the Sheridan.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Bill Cahill of the Pierce Atwood consulting firm of Portsmouth and Concord, New Hampshire. We are a regional public affairs consulting firm. I'm going to keep my remarks very brief. A lot of what I was going to say has already been said. But my remarks will focus on some questions that have been raised about the joint development agreement and some of the detail that's in that agreement, specifically to the parking garage and a few other issues. I'm here this evening representing a number of hotel owners and operators here in Portsmouth, including the Anchorage Inn, the Best Western, the Fairfield Inn, the Holiday Inn, and the Residence Inn. Recent news stories have left the impression that only one hotel development company has questions and concerns about the proposed public-private development partnership. That's just not simply the case, and I'm not here to represent the folks I'm representing tonight opposing the project. It's just there's some questions that they think need to be answered, and they don't believe that a lot of these questions have been answered in a public forum in any way. There's no question that these people I speak for this evening, their facilities generate nearly $1 million in tax revenue to the city of Portsmouth, and they employ literally hundreds of people. They will be impacted, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Competition's good. We've talked about a project raising all ships. Their primary concern is that the proposed hotel expansion and development will not, in fact, constitute a conference center. The proposed meeting spaces, as they are currently proposed, are simply too small to serve as a major destination for large conferences, which would potentially spur economic growth and vitality, especially in the northern part of the city of Portsmouth. A 20,000 square foot space would simply serve as additional meeting space for the 400-room hotel and would not provide the critical mass that would spill over and benefit other hotel properties and restaurants in the downtown region. A good example of a successful conference center in New Hampshire that truly provides some economic benefits is the Center of New Hampshire, Radisson, formerly the Center of New Hampshire Holiday Inn on Elm Street in Manchester. They regularly host conferences which provide an economic boost to downtown Manchester, and there is a significant spillover. Relative to the proposed parking garage, the city's own Economic Development Commission admits that the parking garage will not solve the city's parking problems. It is not a panacea, and as you will probably hear later, there is a negligible net gain of parking spaces in this new proposal for this downtown Portsmouth. We simply question whether the proposed investment of $16 million of city funds in what, for all intents and purposes, may very well be a private facility at certain times of the year, whether that is good public policy, and whether the City Council should vote this up or down tonight. Our third and final point has to do with the process, and that's been discussed. There's a public perception among many people in the industry in the hospitality industry here in the Seacoast and specifically in Portsmouth that they are really in the dark on this project. They've never had a chance to see the plans. They've never been consulted in any formal way. And they would like to have some significant input about what the future holds for the hospitality industry here in the city of Portsmouth. They too are taxpayers, and they have legitimate interests that need to be addressed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Nate Tennant on the Sheraton.
Thank you. My name is Nate Tennant, and I'm one of the principals at Calypso Communications. And I just have a very brief statement in support of the Sheraton. In the 1890s, my great-great-grandfather was recruited by Frank Jones, the legendary figurehead of Portsmouth, to be one of his brewmeisters. He left Germany partly and mainly because of the vitality that Portsmouth represented at that time. That vitality is back, frankly, because some of the risks that business people like Steve have been willing to take. This same energy is what drew me to invest a significant amount of capital in a downtown Portsmouth business. Frankly, upon learning about how the competition was approaching this project, I quickly went out and gathered the signatures of 50 other, actually over 50, downtown businesses. These signatures are not employees, they are principals and owners of these businesses. I'd like to present this to the council, and I'd also like to ask everyone here that's in support of this project to either stand up or you give a round of applause.
Thank you. Ross Tebow on the Sheraton.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, my name is Russ Tebow. I'm president of Applied Economic Research, the firm that conducted and the person that conducted the economic impact analysis that's been cited variously this evening and apparently in the year since I performed the study. I will be brief. Paraphrasing one of your earlier speakers, I'm an economist and I can't possibly say anything in 3 minutes intelligent. It takes much longer than that. But I just wanted to say that, first of all, I find it reassuring that Mr. Crawford's analysis confirmed the figures in my impact analysis really to a remarkable degree, much more than I would have guessed even, and that is in utilizing a totally different model, a totally different set of calculations, came to the conclusion, and that is reassuring to me, and I hope it is to you also. Secondly, as you probably well realize, downtown Portsmouth is the envy of northern New England communities. Downtowns of my firm works throughout New England, but primarily in northern New England. And downtowns throughout New England are really, a project of this type is more than they could even hope for. It would be seen as too good to be true in most of those communities. The reason being that a facility of this type brings the lifeblood into a downtown, which is people. And continually here, we've got to get people into our downtown to make it viable. And this project will bring, both by Mr. Crawford's estimate and mine, somewhere on the order of 140,000 people into downtown. And the spin-off benefits, of course, are tremendous, on the order of $16 million, again, by Mr. Crawford's analysis and mine. So I just wanted to speak briefly, and those are the primary comments that I have this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Next, I cannot make out the signature, but the person lives at 123 Robert Street and wants to speak on the Sheraton.
My name is Paul Ford, and I live at 123 Wyward Street. And this evening, I'm speaking in favor of the Sheraton proposal. I own Blue Star Taxi here in Portsmouth and Regal Limousine Service, and I really think that this proposal will benefit small business. So I ask you to consider favorable. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is from White Plains, New York, and I'm sorry, the next speaker is from Winchester, Massachusetts. I'm speaking on the Sheraton.
Thank you. My name is Rachel Roginski, and I'm from Boston, the Boston area. And I'm with a firm called Pinnacle Advisory Group, which is a national hospitality consulting firm based in Boston, and we have 4 offices around the country. I'm a principal and owner of the company, and I do predominantly hotel consulting, market studies, economic impact studies, and the like. I've been doing this for 25 years. I teach market feasibility at Cornell. I'm on the board of the Mass Lodging Association, board of the International Society of Hospitality Consultants. I have a pretty good list of credentials. I won't take too much time since I don't have a lot of time tonight. What I was asked by a group of some of the local hotels to provide an independent review of this project to see if the benefits that the community was getting was fair, based on the $16 million investment. And I'm not here to oppose or to object to the project. I'm not on any side, but I just wanted to share with you my thoughts. I read the economic impact study front to back, and actually what it did was gave me a lot more questions than answers. I just have a whole bunch of questions I would need answered to basically go back to this group of hotels and say, yes, it makes sense. To me, there are some questions. I heard tonight from Mr. Crawford, who I know very well, that he did a study, and I would love to have access to see that study as well. I didn't know that was available. Or if it would be available, I'd certainly like to see it. And I'm just here to provide an independent review. I saw a lot of questions in the economic impact study that didn't make sense, and I'd want to see some more review of that to provide any feedback. The only other comment I had, which is pertaining to the size, or actually the description of this as a conference center, a regional conference center, given the amount of space it has. Again, I need more information to know whether or not they're going to be getting business from what parts of the region, the size of the facility, will they be providing audio kinds of meeting space they're going to have. None of that information was available to me. So I'm really here more with questions than I am with an opposition to the project or to agree with the project. I would think it'd be beneficial for these hotels that ask me to look at this if they could have more information available to review. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Tom Keene from speaking on the Sheraton.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. My name is Tom Keene, and I represent Ocean Properties. Ocean Properties is a hotel company that has over 110 hotels and resorts throughout North America. Locally, it owns the Wentworth by the Sea, the Marriott Courtyard, and the Marriott Residence Inn. And I come before you tonight representing one of the city's largest taxpayers and ask the question, is this taxpayer investment of $15 to $30 million justified? There have been a lot of hotels built in this area over the past 10 years, which have been discussed tonight, all of which have added a tremendous economic benefit. The new Sheraton project isn't the first hotel project to add economic benefit to the city. And I stand before Mr. Griswold and I say to him tonight, if he was building this hotel with his own money, I wouldn't be here and opposing it. The Hilton Garden Inn recently came in and built a beautiful facility. It's going to add positive economic impact to the city of Portsmouth. And I can tell Malcolm McNeil that I didn't oppose that either. But the problem that we have with this project, with the information that's before you, is there are no answers to the question of whether or not a taxpayer contribution of $15 million is justified. You can take the $15 million and it goes to $30 million when you add interest. The city's logic for the justification of that investment is threefold. First of all, it says that the city is going to get and receive a parking garage the city desperately needs. However, when you analyze that, and you can look on the chart that I have, you're going to see that the general public loses 211 parking spaces. The current Sheraton requires 401 parking spaces. The new hotel will require and demand 590. I see that Bob has given me a notice that I don't have a lot of time left, so I think that I would like to speak a little bit about Ocean Properties' background and one of its concerns when it read the stories about this facility. And it was talking about it in terms of a regional conference center. And we don't dispute that this city could benefit from a regional conference center. But from our personal experience, we have an awful lot of hotels that have more than 20,000 square feet of meeting space. None of those hotels are considered regional conference centers. Locally, you can look to the Samoset, which is 26,000 square feet of meeting space. That's not a regional conference center. You can take a look at the the Marriott in Portland, which has 13,000 square foot ballroom and meeting space. That's not considered a regional conference center. And Wentworth by the Sea is not considered a regional conference center. Therefore, I think you need to look much more closely at the plans that are before you and take a look if there really is not a public parking benefit and there is not a regional conference center that you're going to get from this, then why are we investing $15 million of taxpayer money?
Thank you, sir, very much.
The next speaker is from White Plains, New York, on the Sheraton Westin.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. My name is Paul Sacco, and I'm actually not from White Plains. I'm a Boston and New Hampshire native, currently living in the White Plains area. I'm Vice President of Development with Starwood Hotels and Resorts, and I am here in full favor of moving forward to the next step on this project with Mr. Griswold. Starwood Hotels is the largest owner and operator of hotels and resorts worldwide, one of the largest owners, operators, and franchisors of hotels in the world as well. We have over 750 hotels worldwide. One of our most proven and respected partners in our company is Steve Griswold, who has a very long-term, respectful partnership with Starwood. Mr. Griswold stands by his word and does what he says he's going to do. Westin, per Smith Travel Research, Westin Hotels is considered to be an upper upscale hotel. And we are very tactful in determining which types of markets make sense for Westin Hotels. And we want the right retail surrounding it. We want the right location. We want the right cities. We feel that Portsmouth is that right type of city for Westin Hotels. And Portsmouth and Westin can complement one another very, very well. I wanted to speak for a moment about transient versus group hotels. We have a prototype for non-major urban markets with our Westin Hotel brand. And that prototype is for a 207-room hotel with about somewhere between 2,500 and 5,000 square feet of meeting space. And that's what we consider to be a transient hotel. This 207-room, actually that's a 209-room prototype. This 207-room hotel has 20,000 square feet of meeting space roughly. And that's what we clearly consider to be more of a group or conference-oriented hotel. The Sheraton and Westin are two separate hotels as well, and between them, as two hotels, there is an abundance of meeting space, and we do these projects all over the world. So we are here in full favor of this project. Moving to the next step, we have an approved application with Mr. Griswold and Harbor Corp, and we look forward to the next step with the City of Portsmouth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is Richard Ade on the Sheraton.
I'm Rich Ade. I'm the CFO of Ocean Properties. Once again, I'll acknowledge that Mr. Griswold is the competition for our courtyard, as well as a number of other hotels here. I think we'd like to acknowledge we have no issue with Mr. Griswold using his private funds to invest in a new hotel and a parking garage for his facility. Tom's chart, if you look at it, I think he passed it out to you, will show that his hotels, his facilities require 961 parking spaces. If you look at this agreement, you in effect will be granting variances or looking for the planning board to grant variances for significant parking. I've asked a lot of questions of Mr. Bohanko. I asked for documentation. I asked to meet with Mr. Crawford to go over the financial documentation. Is the parking garage viable? Does it have a profit? Can it support the bonds? These are the questions you should be asking. Will the city be responsible for $15 million worth of debt? If so, where will the funds come from? I'm told from parking revenues. Is that from this garage or all of your garages? If it comes from all of your garages, where do those excess funds go today? If they go to the general fund, perhaps you should analyze what will happen if they're not there next year. We would like to see a conference center in Portsmouth. We believe that one substantially larger would benefit all the hotels. We believe this should take some analysis, that you should have some work sessions that we should be invited to attend. We're willing to bring our professionals. Mr. Griswold can bring his professionals. But this project is a private investment that requires 961 parking spots, primarily dedicated to Mr. Griswold's hotel and his facilities, and if so, he should pay for them, not the taxpayers of Portsmouth.
Thank you, sir. Joe Onosco on the Sheridan.
Good evening, councilors. My name is Joe Onosco, and I've been a Portsmouth homeowner and taxpayer for the past 15 years and love this city. I'm here tonight because the Portsmouth Herald opinion page letters and the Herald's articles on the parking garage and conference center. I hope you too have found it a bit perplexing to see city officials and EDC members reverse their previous claims that the new garage is a remedy for the city's downtown parking problems, or that the garage even serves as a rationale for going ahead with the conference center. Is it true that the planned garage falls far short of meeting the conference center's parking demands when at capacity? And if so, why proceed with a plan that actually exacerbates an already existing parking problem, particularly during the months of May through September? Homeowners like myself are told that the proposal will generate $700,000 in annual revenue for the city. This amount has been thrown around for some time, but what is the basis for this number? I was hoping to find out this evening, but have not. Do you as councilors anticipate a long-term reduction or at least a stabilization in property taxes, thanks in part to the convention center and additional northern tier development? In short, what's the benefit to homeowners for this massive development? Arguments from proponents that the northern tier is underutilized or that city businesses will miss out on convention monies are by themselves unpersuasive. To me, and I believe to many, if not most, homeowners of this city. This city is a jewel without the convention center and the additional development. From the perspective of a homeowner, if the plan doesn't serve to reduce or stabilize my taxes, why should I support it? I certainly don't look forward to over 1,000 or more conventioneers swarming the downtown area on a weekly basis between May and October. Please examine that $700,000 number carefully before putting this proposal to a vote for tax-paying homeowners who don't have a business interest here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next would be Paul Young on the Sheraton.
Start with the good news. I think I'm one of the last speakers. My name is Paul Young. I own two businesses on Deer Street and currently investigating starting a third based largely upon anticipated growth in that area that has been outlined in the feasibility study and the other studies in the master plan by the city. I guess I'm part of what the experts call the long-term economic vitality of the downtown. I'm the small business person. I'm not the large company that can bring lawyers and other experts before you to give my viewpoint. I rely on you to represent my interests as elected officials, and I congratulate you for the process that you've undergone in doing these studies and bringing in other outside experts who can look at this. Because I am one of the last speakers, I've been listening intently on the arguments on both sides tonight. I see a lot of support for the project as I support it. I hear kind of two elements coming from the opposition. One, I see one competitor who doesn't want it. And they're trying to find reasons for it not to happen. And then I see some other individuals who seem very angry. And I think they have some anger, and I think they have some issues that may be legitimate. Parking impact fees, clean rivers, but I think the anger is misdirected at this project. This project has numerous benefits. It will help my business. It will help my 12 employees. I'm not a big employer, but companies like mine are what make a downtown vital. If you look at downtowns that become vacant, it's because small businesses like myself aren't there. And so this is going to be a tremendous help for us, my business. For the other business owners, you have some of the petitions in front of you. In terms of the process, I'm confused about people saying there hasn't been enough, due diligence or whatever you want to call it. If you go out and talk to your neighbors and people in the downtown area, as I have, everybody said, "Isn't that already going to happen?" The people are way ahead of this process. They believe it's a good thing, and they want it to happen, and they want it to happen now. So if you delay this project or don't support it, you're not going to hurt the Walsh family in Ocean Properties, and you're probably not going to hurt Steve Griswold. He's going to go ahead and be a successful business person. You're going to hurt small businesses like myself who are relying on your master plan, who are relying on the feasibility studies that you've done to make our plans and to hire people and to keep the downtown vibrant. And one last thing, I was standing next to Vernon Briggs, who's the general manager of the Hampton Inn, who is fully supportive of this project. I think he's still here. And I told him I would bring his name because he didn't have time to sign up. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anthony Lorenzo on the Sheridan. No. Then finally, but not last but not least, Ralph DiBernardo on the Sheridan.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council. I guess I get to sum up. I've heard from a lot of experts tonight representing both sides, and oddly enough, but not surprisingly, they're in conflict. What we have here is a lot that's been vacant for 40 years. We have members of the City Council that have never seen that lot with a building on it. We have a viable proposal from an established businessman that has been in partnership with the city in the past and performed admirably. The UDAG funds that we made available to establish his business were repaid to the city of Portsmouth and were used over and over again. It's not the end of the process. Mr. Griswold's still got a lot of hoops to jump through, and he's a big man, so you better... There will be numerous public hearings before boards that will have a say in this project. Where we stand now is at the decision making. You, as the representatives of the taxpayers and the business people of Portsmouth, have been informed at great length. Many of the questions that were posed here tonight I have heard answered. I don't know where these people were when they were being answered, but City Manager John Bohenko and the experts that we have used in this project have presented these figures in the financial balance to this council and to the citizens of Portsmouth. So I say to you tonight, move forward. Vote in the best interest of the city of Portsmouth. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. That ends the public comment session.
Madam Mayor.
Council, is that
Madam Mayor.
We should have a 5-minute recess.
I just would like to move to suspend the rules to take up item 1 under the city manager.
Yeah, second?
Okay.
Second?
We got our second. We're all set to go here.
We have to vote on.
Yes.
Madam Mayor?
In favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Madam Mayor? I'd like to move to authorize the city manager to execute the joint development agreement with Harbor Corp as proposed and to bring back for first reading a bonding resolution at the December 5th meeting.
Your Honor, I think, Councilor Marcus, I think we have to move this from the table first.
Oh, excuse me.
So,
Okay.
I'll move that we take this from the table. You have a second?
Second.
Second?
Second.
All set to go then?
We have to vote on it.
Oh, yeah, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
You want me to do that again? I move to authorize the city manager to execute the joint development agreement with Harbor Corp as proposed and to bring back for first reading a bonded resolution at the December 5th meeting. And I'd like to speak to my motion.
Second. That.
Second.
Madam Mayor, I think that we need to clarify the fact that this is not going to be taxpayers' money that's going into this project for the garage, that this is paid for through the parking fees that we get. I think that we need a parking garage downtown. I think that, I don't know where all of these people have been when all of these meetings have been going on, but ever since I've been on the council, there has been talk of this conference center, and I think it's very good for the city of Portsmouth and the businesses there. And I move that we pass this motion.
Discussion? Councilor Hines?
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't want to date myself, but I was here when the first Sheraton was being discussed before it was built. We listened to Mr. Griswold. We studied his offers. We worked on that project a awful long time before we arrived at a decision that it sounded like something that would help the historic district, the business district of Portsmouth, and it would also create a bigger tax base from which we could reduce the property taxes. Having done all of that, we finally moved the question, and Mr. Griswold built the hotel with a UDAG grant. Some years before, it was actually due to be returned to the city so that we could use it for community development block grants. Mr. Griswold stepped forward and returned that block grant money to the city so that we were able to move faster. That was just one of a number of things that were not promised, but showed the integrity of a businessman and a business of this sort that has offered the city substantial support, not only for the tourists, but you've got to recognize that second jobs quite often is the money that pays for some of the taxes for people who own homes in this city. Second jobs. Those are created by any number of businesses that function in this city because we can attract and accommodate more tourists, such as the Sheraton does, such as the Hilton will, such as a number of other places do. That is why I would second the motion to continue this progress, to move forward on the link between the conference center, which is big as we want it to be, not as big as we'd like it to be if there was any reason for making it bigger, but I go back to a slogan that I've used for 16 years, how big can Portsmouth get and still be Portsmouth? That conference center is what is going to keep Portsmouth looking like Portsmouth and provide the services that are going to be required. No bigger, no less. And all of those reasons is why I will support a motion to
agree with the Sheraton to allow them to design and build that parking garage because it'll link to them designing and building a conference center. And when it's done, sure, we will produce a bond to take charge of that. I believe that's correct. And having done that, it comes with a guarantee that the Sheraton will rent enough spaces in that garage to pay the bond off. In 20 years, we will own the Sheraton land, the parking garage, and from that point on, no matter what happens, the city will have acquired more additional parking.
Thank you, John. Assistant Mayor Joanne?
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, in business, a person's reputation is very important, and a person's reputation is important no matter where you are in life. And I feel that Mr. Griswold has earned the reputation that he has now as a person who keeps his word and has paid back the loans and paid them back ahead of time. And I would also like to mention at this time that Mr. Griswold, at the request of Mr. DeStefano a few years ago, was a person who honored the community that lost their homes down that area. There is a bench there with some of the names of the families that lived in that area and that are gone from the city. I really appreciate what he did on that behalf. I feel that to go forward with this construction of the garage and the conference center would be a very positive step for Portsmouth, and it would set a basis on which to base the future. I will strongly support the Sheraton going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes, Your Honor. May I ask our city manager a question?
John?
Certainly. John, there's several people that have spoken this evening in reference to the revenues that we will be receiving from the leased spaces, the 325 leased spaces, will be paying for the principal and interest on the $15 million bonding. That alone, and not revenues coming from another avenue of parking, such as a high-level parking garage?
That is not correct. What will happen is that there will be there is an estimate that a great majority, about 95% in the first 5 years, will be from the parking garage. It not only will be from the 325 spaces that will be leased by Harbor Corp, but the other 332 spaces that will be leased to the public. We have done an analysis of the high Hanover parking garage, and we've estimated that about approximately $1,800 is generated per space. And if you extrapolate that number into the number of spaces, and that includes the leases, you would be slightly short. What we've done with the bond, and again, before I go on with answering your question, I think it's important for the public to know that in the event that the City Council votes to move this forward, the next step would be to have 2 readings on the bond issue. First reading at the December 5th meeting, and then on December 19th, there would be a public hearing on the bond issue and City Council approval. And at that time, it would require a 2/3 vote of the City Council to approve any bonding. At that time, it was my intent, Councilor, at that time, to bring forward by December 5th a full analysis of the bonding, because as you are well aware, there is a lot of information that has transpired this evening. And I'd like to spend the full meeting on talking about the finances. I think there were some good comments made relative to that. So instead of handing you out a document tonight, I think it's more important that we move forward to the resolutions, the two readings. And I might add, and I would ask the city attorney to confirm this, if the bond resolution is not passed, anything in this agreement is null and void. So it's really just the beginning. I might remind the council that this started in 1999 when we did the Northern Tier study. And in 2004, in January of 2004, the City Council instructed me to move forward to work with the Harbor Corp on a public-private partnership with the Economic Development Commission. In November of 2004, a memorandum of understanding was approved by the City Council, which is the outline for this joint development agreement. Now, the joint development agreement that's before you tonight has is one that will move us to the next step, and that will be to the bonding resolution for the garage. At that time, there'll be an opportunity again for the public and for the City Council to ask specific questions about the financing. And we will be prepared at that time to give you detailed answers to that. So I would ask that on December 5th, we will have a preliminary information to you, and at the December 19th City Council meeting, there'll be a full presentation. And as I've indicated, if the City Council is uncomfortable at that time and is not comfortable with the bond resolution, if it does not pass the bond resolution, then this agreement is null and void. But to get back to your question, Councilor, about 90, I would say between 90 and 95% of the funding will come from this garage. There will be an offset in the first 5 years to fund it from other parking revenues. Now, you might recall that approximately 5 years ago, this City Council asked that we start moving parking revenues to fund parking garages and parking activities. We have set up a fund to do that, and we are continuing to move funds over in that area. But I would ask that you allow me and my staff to make a full presentation at the bonding public hearing, and prior to that, we will get information out to the public, and they'll be able to fully scrutinize it. It'll be a full month that this will be available to the public. So that's basically my answer, and I hope I was able to address it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Councilor St. Laurent, and then Councilor Farini.
Thank you, Your Honor. When I was campaigning, I heard more of the one resident about this project that mentioned that it doesn't seem to it's going to benefit him, and how are these taxes going to benefit him? In looking at this contract, I see $700,000 is going to be paying a lot of services that this company is going to need. I'm not objecting to anything being built on that spot. I'm just objecting to maybe the way we're doing it. I see in this on page 5, E, the city will design, engineer, and construct at its sole cost and expense the relocation of any municipal water, storm water drainage, or sewer facilities made necessary by any aspect of the construction of this parking garage. That could be a $700,000 right there, gone already, spent. I really don't see this. I see this benefiting the businesses. I see a project eventually going in there, but I don't think the city right now should be getting into this contract, because it almost seems like you're putting the cart before the horse. Because if we contract with this corporation and he still has to go before boards and commissions, isn't the city council sort of stating that we agree with this whole project, and that maybe it kind of puts a different light on the way they vote? I have a problem with the way it's being done, not what's going on, but the way it's being done. I also have a problem with the parking spaces. I see this hotel eating them right up, gone, between employees. In the instance that was mentioned, that 325 parking places is not necessarily designated. I read this contract as saying that the Harbor Corp, we guarantee them 325 parking spaces. Then further in, let's see if I can find that other thing. The parties hereto shall negotiate and enter an agreement under which the city shall make available to Harbor Corp up to an additional 275 parking spaces in either the parking garage or another approximate city facility. So right there, we're giving up all but 57 parking places. Plus, we're looking at employees. Where are the employees going to park? I'm sure that Harbor Corp will provide. So I don't see this a win-win situation. I think they should maybe build their own garage. I agree with what's being said with some of the public here. I think a project like this, and I'm not going to speak to the project because that's not what we hear about,
But before these boards and city and commissions can address this, I don't think we should be getting into any contracts. So my estimation is I think we ought to pass this right now. I mean, not pass it, I'm sorry. We ought to table this now and wait until they've been before our boards and commissions for the rest of the project. And let the public speak about what they want to see with the project. So I don't agree that we should be doing this evening. There's a time and a place, and this is not the time and place. We've had a lot of good comments about it, but and like I said, in my campaigning, I had a lot of people say, be careful what we get into in development. You know, the big developments that want to come in here, we got to be very cautious, and this is the time for the city council right now to be cautious. And I think we ought to just wait. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Councilor Farini?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Appreciate the opportunity to weigh in on this. As we vote this evening, it is merely another step on the road, as I believe Ralph DiBernardo said, and there are significant opportunities for additional presentation of evidence and information for the community to consider. I've had the opportunity to be involved with this since I served as an Economic Development Commissioner since 1999, and I was involved actually since 1997, but the study was done in 1999. I participated in this study and participated in the extensive public process that went on during that study, at which time I think it is a very fair statement to say that the community made a decision then, that the community was not interested in a convention center of very large scale, but rather a conference center such as that we see proposed before us. Many of the questions that have been raised will have additional ample opportunity to be threshed in public, as they already have, and I think that by voting this evening, those opportunities will not go away, and I would certainly welcome, rather than just the expression of questions, significant economic data of a complex nature, if someone is going to offer it, to oppose this project. Finally, I will say that, you know, I have not, no one's support of a project like this is not without qualification. I went before the Historic District Commission myself earlier in the year to make comments about design, and had my opportunity as any citizen would, and I did offer them at that time, and I had certain concerns. I would also add that I won't lightly vote this myself, and I intend to vote it favorably this evening. I, too, have 4 family names on the bench that was built by Mr. Griswold, and I do respect the sensitivity with which he has proceeded, and I've observed it firsthand since 1999. So I will vote it tonight. We'll happily listen to any opposing or contrary or just interesting information as we go forward, and I'll vote them as they come going forward, but for this evening I'm going to vote for it.
Councilor Marchand and then Councilor Pandelakis.
Thanks, Mayor. I would echo much of what Tom just said, including repeating that throughout the month of December, as the city manager has said, there are going to be ample opportunities, particularly on the public finance side of this discussion, to really analyze this, take a good look. And I would say both some of the folks that have spoken this evening, as well as folks that have come up to us in the past several months, have expressed some, I think, very articulate, legitimate concerns to ensure, especially the public financing part of this discussion, that it's done well and thoughtfully and completely and with the taxpayers' consideration in mind. So I think that's very legitimate, and we're going to have multiple opportunities in December to really scrutinize that. And as somebody said earlier, that is a hurdle that must be hopped over in order for this to be seen to fruition. So it's very significant. This is a significant step, but it is by no means the final step. There's a lot of due diligence between now and that finish line. But the other thing I'd say is I think there are 3 components that different people have brought up: the parking, the financing, which I just mentioned, and the economic development. The financing, I mentioned we're going to have plenty of time to talk about that one further in December. The parking, I think by most accounts, this is not seen unilaterally as a panacea that will solve all of the city's parking concerns, and I don't think you'll hear a whole lot of people saying that. I know I certainly don't think that's the case. But it is a piece of a larger puzzle. One thing that my dad's been building homes in the Manchester area for over 40 years, and when you build the roof, and at first, you know, it's not covered, and somebody inevitably will come up and make a smart aleck remark and say that that house isn't going to do too well in the current condition that it's in. and my dad, usually in French and equally smart alecky, will say something to the effect of, you got to wait until the whole job's done. I think that if we look at the long-term project here and see that some folks are making comments, well-intentioned perhaps, but before the roof has even begun, much less completed, and that this is part of a much bigger picture of long-term economic development, and that includes how we're going to deal with parking over the next 10 or 20 years. But the final point, and I think the most important one for this project, deals with the economic development. Talking to an awful lot of folks downtown, we have an opportunity to really augment our shoulder season. I think we mentioned the spring and the fall as two times where we could use a little boost. That we sometimes we have perhaps become so over-reliant on the peak summer season to bring in economic revenue, to bring in revenues downtown, that we do it at the peril of the other three seasons of the year. And this is an opportunity to help raise the tide overall and certainly level it out, and I think that has a lot of economic benefits, not just season to season, but also midweek as compared to weekend. We do well on weekends. We could use some help midweek, and this is a unique sector of economic development that helps us address the midweek portion of it. It's a 7-day week. It's a 12-month year, and in both cases, this can help us recognize those two realities. So I'm going to vote for it tonight. I look forward to the discussion in December, and appreciate this many people coming up for something this important.
Councilor Pandelakis?
Yes, I just would like to say that in the time that the Sheraton has been there, they've been a very good neighbor and very helpful to the people within the city and a good employee. But I would also like to rebut my fellow councilor's statement that if we pass this tonight, that it might influence those boards that they're going to have to go before. I've been around this town a long time, and there's nothing that influences them boards that the city council does. And I just want that known. I don't want anybody to think that we have any influence on them boards, because we do not. Once we appoint them, it's all over.
Your Honor.
Well, I guess we're talking age here. I guess I go back a few years. I think I was one of many councilors that dug the first hole in the ground down there for the new hotel. And I'll tell you, as far as Steve goes with me, he is a very, very trustworthy person, and I watched that man pay that HUD grant off fast. And Steve, you have my vote all the way.
Your Honor?
Yes.
I'd like to ask the city manager if I can. John, in other words, an affirmative vote tonight really allows the city staff to go ahead and bring in the information on the funding, the finances, and all the things that we will be presented prior to a public hearing on this.
Yes. Let me, actually, the contract says the city on or before December 31st, 2005 will submit the bond resolution for finance of the purchase of the parking garage to the city council for its approval. Failure to obtain council approval of the city's bond resolution will give each party grounds to terminate this agreement without any further obligation hereunder.
Harold, and then Bill.
Thank you, Your Honor. This will be the last time I'll speak on this issue, but it's a very important issue, and I want to ask our city manager another question.
John?
Now, John, would you say the parking garage, the conference center, and the condos, and addition to the Sheraton hotel rooms all go hand in hand? Can we separate the parking garage and disregard what's going to be taken up further in construction?
I don't understand the question.
What I'm trying to say is a $15 million bond issue. If there's a cease and desist or a slowdown in the economy and they decided not to build the conference center or go further into construction of the addition to the hotels, I know there's a clause in the agreement that this will be taken care of, but can you explain what the issue would be?
I'll refer that to the city attorney.
I'm sure the council members will recall our earlier discussions at this point, in which the council made it
crystal clear that the existence of the conference center was very much the driving force behind the city's moving ahead with this project. Therefore, what we have put into the agreement that is before you tonight is extremely strong language on that point. It was quite a sticking point in our negotiations with Mr. Griswold, but I wanted to be able to tell you that we have put in the strongest possible language in that agreement, and I can tell you that. Basically, if there is no conference center, then with very narrow exceptions, the city will have no further obligations to Mr. Griswold or to Harbor Corp under this agreement.
All right. Okay, just one more question, Your Honor. Now, it really surprised me that out of 28 people that spoke, only 2 spoke on an issue I think everybody should be concerned about, and that was Senator Martha Clark and Harold Ecker. They referred to our wastewater treatment plant. Now, we're going to have a conference center where 1,000 people could gather for 3 or 4 days for a conference. Now, I know the city manager is going to say we'll address that issue later on, but this is an important issue. You're talking 1,000 people, 1,000 flushings, 1,000 washing of hands. I mean, our sewage treatment plant must prepare with a design and engineering study for a secondary system. And unless we do immediately, I think 5 to 6 to 10 years down the road, we're going to be in serious trouble. So I'm asking my city manager to come back with a bonding that will include, and that sounds unusual coming from me, maybe additional to the bonding, that will include some monies set to one side for engineering and design of a secondary plant over on Pierce Island.
May I respond to that? I think we're a little ahead of you on that because there is funding set aside, and we are already looking at that. Remember the 201 study, and there is money under that you've bonded under the project. And what we are doing now is we're working with our consultants to look at the options for secondary treatment. We're right now in the process of working with the EPA on our 301H waiver, which you're well aware. But as part of that, we're also looking at the city's options as it relates to secondary treatment. And that is something that we will be bringing back to the City Council probably in the next term of the City Council to talk about the time frame. We will be working with the EPA, with a number of people as it relates to secondary treatment. It is a very complex issue and something that we've already set aside money for as from a planning perspective.
Now, John, I think you know how I feel about this. This should be the responsibility of the developer, and it should start here and now. And that's why I'm saying the bonding of the $15 million should include some money, even if we have to go to $15,500,000 for some design and study, not coming out of a separate bonding, or not coming under the capital improvement plan, or not coming under monies that we set to one side for the 301H study. So that's how I feel about it. I think it should be the responsibility of any development that takes place from here on in.
Okay, Bill?
Thank you, Ronna. I do somewhat perceive that if we're into a contract with something, that I'm not saying that the boards and commissions will go along with us, but I'm just saying that that may be the tendency. But anyway, I want to remind the council that the original Sheridan was UDAG funding. This $15 million bonding is coming from the city, from the taxpayer, basically. So it's a different ball game with that. And you know, God forbid anything happens, we could get burnt. We've been burnt before in other projects. So I understand Mr. Griswold has done a fantastic job. The hotel is wonderful. It's done a great business, and he paid back fine, and I have no qualms against Mr. Griswold and a project that he wants there. I'm just saying that we ought to proceed with caution with this, and I think we just ought to wait. That's all. And I think we're putting cart before the horse. That's all. Thank you.
We all ready for the vote?
Roll call, please.
Very good.
Read the motion, please.
Yeah. Are you going to do it, Harold?
No.
I made the motion.
Oh, okay.
Read the motion.
Does anyone want it read?
Yes, I do.
All right, fine. Laura's got it.
I got it right here.
Yes, sir, yes.
You want it, or you want
Go
me to
ahead
read it?
and read it, Laura.
Move to authorize the city manager to execute the joint development agreement with Harbor Corp as proposed and to bring back for first reading a bonding resolution at the December 5th meeting.
All set? Everyone ready? Okay.
Roll call.
A roll call. Right. All in favor?
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Assistant Mayor Grasso?
Yes.
Councilor Farini?
Yes.
Councilor Marshall?
Yes?
Councilor Panalakis?
Yes.
Councilor Hines?
Yes.
Councilor Reynolds? Councilor Whitehouse?
Yes.
Councilor St. Laurent?
No.
Mayor Sorrell?
Yes. I want you all to know it was 7-1 4. Let's have a 5-minute recess, everybody.
So
I
moved.
think we need a
Second.
second.
All right.
Okay.
Holding up project.
Oh, time, Chief, we got a vote. Oh, the work of the people.
Yeah, I know, the people's champion.
I'd like to call the meeting back to order, everyone. And we are down to the public hearing. The public hearing is on ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 11, Section 7, Period 330,
Yes.
no parking, Church Street, both sides from State Street to Court Street. John, did you want to speak on this first?
I think with the map in the packet, it's pretty self-evident as to what's being requested here.
Very good. Okay. I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, and if I have any first-time speakers out there, please come forward. Second time around, do I have any speakers? Third and final time, before I close the public hearing, do I have any other speakers? Seeing no other speakers, closed. Approval of grants and donations, the acceptance of donations to the new library building fund. Tom, do you want to read them?
I will read them gladly, Madam Mayor. The acceptance for this evening are as follows: Paul and Geraldine Buford for $25, Valerie Cunningham for $25, Seacoast Gestalt for $100, and Richard J. Katz for $100. And I'll move to approve and accept the donations to the new library fund as listed.
Good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. And I want you all to know that Eileen Foley and myself worked very hard to raise funds, and we're getting very close to $100,000. And we deserve credit. Never worked so hard in all my life. Okay. Now, let's see. Thanks, Tom. Now we're down to, did we take a vote on?
We did.
We took a vote on that, okay. All right, now we're down to the police department, the acceptance of a grant to the Portsmouth Police Department, Project 54, in the amount of $55,000.
Your Honor, just to let you know that Deputy Chief DeCessa is here tonight to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions of the, what?
I just want to
Bill has a question.
Just one question, Your Honor. The 55,000, does that cover all 8 cruisers?
Yes, it does.
Covers all 8 of them?
Yes, we're doing 5 for this year, and we'll be doing 3 more into 2006.
Okay. Well, it separates out the two. It separates, and that's what I'm just curious about.
But a total of
okay,
8 cruisers.
I'm sorry?
A total of 8 cruisers.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Councilor Pandalakis?
Yes, Madam Mayor, no questions for anybody. I just want to say that I saw this demonstrated at the university, and it's really worthwhile our money. It was something to watch.
Good, very good. We all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? What's the matter? Didn't have a motion? Didn't have a motion. Oh, that's nice.
Why don't we put that one for $55,000 and the Justice Assistant Grant for $21,688, and I move that we accept the grants to the Portsmouth Police Department.
Very good.
Second.
Second. Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Now we're down to the chief, our fire chief, our wonderful fire chief, so handsome in the paper.
Thank you, Deputy Chief.
Acceptance of the fire boat grant to the Portsmouth Fire Department in the amount of $350,000.
Madam Mayor?
Yes, Councilor Pandalakis.
I move to accept the grant as listed.
Second.
Discussion. Councilor St. Laurent and then Councilor Whitehouse.
Question, Your Honor, to the fire chief.
Chief, would you come up?
Either a city manager, one or the other. I'm not
Our
sure.
chief's right there. He'll,
Does this, will this remove the $300,000 from our CIP for 2007? I mean, now that if you get this grant, will that remove that amount from?
Yes, you will see the $300,000 in capital move to the grants line in the capital. It'll still be there for identification purposes, so you know it's being done, but it won't be in the general fund line anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Whitehouse, do you
Chief,
need the chief?
Yeah, just two questions. I see we're going to purchase an aluminum boat. Now, will this boat be tied up at the floats down at Prescott Park year-round?
No, we're, as you know, the Port Authority is working on a public safety pier grant. We're hoping that is successful. We will be tying this boat up at the Port Authority for security and accessibility purposes.
Is an aluminum boat durable when there's a severe winter? You've got ice flow coming down the Piscataqua, and it has a tendency for the current to take it in among that cove. I just question it. I don't really know. I just question it.
I planned some remarks for tonight, but just to answer that question, we have researched fiberglass, aluminum, and the boat manufacturers and designers that we've worked with have advised us just to go with aluminum. They're extremely strong and they're extremely durable boats.
Okay, all right.
Any other questions? Thank you, Chief. Are we all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The acceptance of stormwater pollution prevention grant. Councilors, would you wish? Somebody want to make a motion?
Oh, really?
Assistant Mayor?
Yes, I move that the City Council accept the illicit discharge detection and elimination of stormwater grant. I guess we need a second.
Yeah.
Second.
About a second? All right. Discussion. Being no discussion, are you ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The acceptance of CZM grant for acquisition of the Maxim property. Councilor Marchant, would you like to make the motion?
All right, thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd recommend that we apply for, accept, and expend a $45,000 coastal zone management grant for the purpose of purchasing a 27-acre maximum property under a project titled Barry's Brook Headwater Conservation Initiative.
Second. Discussion? Bill?
Yeah, just like I said, in campaigning prior to this year, had a lot of people asking for things like this to happen, and hope the city council will continue. So I think we're on track for that anyway.
Whenever we can
conservation.
Whenever we can get wetlands, we grab them.
Now, where can I ask where this is? I'm trying to place this.
There is
on Lafayette Road. I can't.
There is, if you go up towards the furniture store up that way, and the furniture store's on the left, this would be on your right, Coach Road.
Allen's
That's
Way,
the
right
Men's Nest.
across the street from it.
Yeah, the guy that
Oops, sorry.
This is a family show. There's 27 acres there, and not only that, but to the right of that, Councilor, much of that is city-owned as well, so it actually abuts city-owned property as well.
Yeah. Just couldn't place it, that's all.
All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Second reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 3, Section 7, period 330, no parking, Church Street, both sides, from State Street to Court Street. Councilor Whitehouse, would you like to make a motion?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Move to pass second reading of the amended ordinance as submitted and hold a third and final reading at the December 5th City Council meeting.
Second.
Very good.
Discussion? One question, and I've asked
yes.
this before. The boundary issue has been determined, right? Oh, no, this is the wrong one. I'm sorry. Yeah, this is the right one. This is the right one.
This is the right one.
Yeah, this is the right one. The boundary issue has been determined on that. It used to be called a path.
That's correct. The boundary issue has been determined not only on this portion of Church Street, but also on the upper portion close to the Market Square.
Yeah. Between Porter and State, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other discussion before the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Third and final reading of ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 11, Section 7, period 1100, speed limit, Hillcrest Drive and Woodlawn Circle, 20 miles per hour. Councilor Hines, do you want to work on that, since you're the chairperson of Traffic and Safety?
Traffic and Safety did a site review of this issue and determined that 20 miles an hour would fit parts of that street. And I believe that Public Works will be working on the signage at an appropriate time.
Do you want to make that in the form of a motion?
That is a motion.
That is a motion.
Second.
Second. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. We're down to presentations and considerations of written communications and petitions. A letter from Heidi Roy, National Municipal Cirrhosis Society, requesting permission to hold the 2006 MS Walk on Saturday, May 6, 2006, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. What you wish, Councilor?
Move to the city manager with power.
Second.
Second. Discussion. Harold?
One question, Mr. City Manager. I've noticed in the route, it's starting at Little Harbor School and it comes down through the streets. But one area that does not have any sidewalks, and that is Spinney Road. I hope this summer, I know we've got proposed Middle and Spinney to have sidewalks. I hope by May 6th of 2006 we have sidewalks on that street. That's the only street in the route that doesn't have a sidewalk. And they plan on having as many as 200 to 300 people walking. 400 participants. So.
They don't walk on the sidewalk.
We are ready for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. A letter from Susan Benedict, friend of the South End, requesting to be part of a committee, if established, to consider the disposition of the former Children's Museum. Since you live down there, Harold, I'll give it to you.
Your Honor, I move to the city manager with power and take this communication very seriously because I attend some of the Friends of the South End meetings, and they are very concerned that they want to be part of the decision-making body.
Your Honor, may I speak to that?
Yes,
I did
sure.
send back a letter to them
All right.
and indicated that it would be on the agenda tonight, and if the new mayor and city council chooses to set up a blue ribbon committee on this or any other kind of committee, then we'll keep them advised.
Thank you.
Very good. You all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. A letter from Allison Stevens, Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, requesting permission to hold the annual walkathon on Saturday, May 20th, 2006.
Move to refer to the city manager with power.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Harold, keep your hand down now. We want to get home before midnight. All right, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Petition from the residents, business owners, and customers regarding a fair share parking plan. As you can see, this was previously referred to the Economic Department Commission for a report back.
Move to refer to the Economic Development Commission for a report back in consideration with their other deliberations on this subject.
Thank you, John. Very good. All in favor? Aye. All opposed. A letter from Captain Scott Flanders, who I spoke with the other night when I met with the kiddos. He said any time is fine with him. It's the Salvation Army requesting permission to set up the Christmas kettle in Market Square from November 26, 2005 through December 24th, 2005. So let's all get together to see what your schedules are and come up with a date.
Move to city manager with power.
Second.
Don't forget the new councilors, too.
Oh, don't worry. No. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. A letter from Tom Nichian, I kill her name every time. City Year, New Hampshire, requesting permission to hold the 4th annual Martin Luther King Day March of Justice on Monday, January 16th, 2006.
Move to the city manager with power.
Second. All in favor?
Just one question, Your Honor.
Wait a minute. Harold, say help me. If we don't get out of here until midnight, you got it.
Mayor, just one question. Has anybody been notified where the MLK breakfast will be held this year?
Jen, do you know? Jarvis Center.
Oh, Jarvis Center. Okay.
And I just want to commend Jen for hanging in there.
I know, we should have moved that up, yeah. Make her wait. Okay.
Okay, we will now. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. You can go home now. Bye-bye. A letter from Arthur and Joan Jones regarding proposed rooftop deck and pavilion structure at 117 Bow Street. Tom, I'm going to give that to you.
Yeah, I'll just move to refer that to the planning board for a report back. Planning department, rather.
Okay, do I get a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. A letter from Sherwood and Denise Rollins regarding school districting.
Your Honor, I move that we refer this back to the school department. It's not something that we can act on.
Could you please put on that motion that I wish they'd return an answer to these people because they're trying to sell their home.
All right. I move that we refer this to the school department and request that they answer the questions in the letter.
Second.
Yes, very
Well, I don't
good.
need to second.
Yes, Councilor Pendelakis.
I was just curious, it's not time for school redistricting, is it?
No, but the person that wants to buy the house, her two children go to Little Harbor.
Oh.
And these people live on Chevrolet Drive, which is just down the hill from Little Harbor. So that's why they're kind of
Oh, I see.
concerned. And they want the kids to go way out to Don Deere,
Right.
which is foolish.
I didn't think it was time, though. I thought it was
No.
just a year
Yeah.
or two ago that
Yeah.
we finished.
Are we all ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. a letter from Suzanne Delaney and Catherine Keenan, directors of the Portsmouth Criteria Race, regarding permission to hold the Portsmouth Criterium Race on Sunday, September 17th, 2006.
Move to city manager with power.
Second.
I think John's gone to sleep.
No.
Oh, no, I'm awake. I just wrote it down.
He just likes all of these things.
Not on the PUC.
Any discussion? Yes, Carol.
I'd just like to suggest, City Manager, that a presentation be made at the second meeting in January with the new council on this issue, because there's a new council, and they might not approve again of that race in the central business district.
Well, we
Just a
could
suggestion.
table this to that meeting if that would be better.
Well, I think they're trying to get their planning under.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I typically won't. I think they did an excellent job of planning. They went around to all the businesses. They took input from all the businesses. They ran the race as we asked them to run it. They organized it well. They did it on a Sunday afternoon. They contacted all the businesses. When somebody had a problem, they immediately went out to those businesses. These people were incredible in the way they were
I agree
working.
with you, but I still think our
And I didn't get any calls at all. My only complaint is, I hope they watch where they put the hay bales.
Hay bales.
Okay.
There's a joke. I'm sorry, but there's a joke to that. Councilor Marchand.
Quick question, just to refresh my memory, which I think I remember, but I could be wrong. When we voted to do it this past September, what was the vote that day? If I remember, it was 9-0.
I think so.
Yeah. So even if the two folks were against it, it's going to be 7-2 unless somebody's got a real problem with it. And I didn't get one call either.
And we can,
No, they did a nice
but it's
job.
probably a good idea to bring them up to speed. I'll ask them to come in at some point on the presentation.
Notify them.
But the questions move tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
My only concern, Your Honor, is just a little bit of PR for them, that's all.
Yes, Harold.
I'll just let them know that they should come in on the presentation some night.
Councilor Pandalakis?
I just heard nothing but compliments about
I know
that.
it. I know it.
How great it was for the city, so.
So let's do it.
Yep.
Since I'm still sitting here. No, I'm teasing. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, now we are down to reports and communications, and John has 3 items that require action.
And you've already taken care of 2 of them, Your Honor. So the only one left for the City Council to act on under my name is the proposed Centric Bank easements, and these are pretty standard to what you've done in the past as a result of land use votes that have taken place.
Okay.
Move
To authorize the city manager to accept the required easements from Centrix Bank for municipal utilities and sidewalk.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Your Honor, just a couple announcements. There is a joint budget committee meeting with the assistant mayor will be chairing on Wednesday, November 16th at 8 a.m. in Conference Room A, and we've attached a copy of the agenda for you. In addition, what I'd like to just bring to your attention that on Saturday, this Saturday coming up, November 19th, the city will be embarking on an emergency vaccination exercise. And we are going to be one of 3 communities in the state that are going to be testing our emergency preparedness as it relates to mass inoculations. And we are going to be fully funded by state emergency management to test our situation. And this will take place at the high school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And the high school is really the place that we want to have available and learn how to utilize in the event that we have to have a mass inoculation. And so what will happen is we will be offering flu vaccines for this year. If people have not had a flu vaccine, they would be able to come in and get a flu vaccine. And this would test how we can move people through with those inoculations. The people that would be allowed to go through are the contiguous towns, same towns that utilize our high school. It's basically to try to see how all our emergency activities would come together. We're working closely with the Portsmouth Hospital, Regional Hospital, and they're having staff there as well. So this is to test our readiness on emergency vaccinations.
So anybody from the city can?
Sure.
Okay.
You can go down.
Be in Tampa,
The other is just to let you know that on Thursday here at City Hall, we are going to have a workshop on the Medicare Part D program, and that'll be from 1 to 3, just to bring in some people to help with.
When was that again, Jonathan?
It will be Thursday, this Thursday, from 1 to 3, and they also will help. There'll be people coming in to help people sign up and do that, so that'll be available. That's all I have, Your Honor. If there are any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Any questions to John? Thank you, Harold. I'd like to make a motion to accept a check from the town of Loudon. I'm reading this upside down. For $5,000. This is a coalition.
Second.
Is it New London?
Yeah. It's New London.
Oh, it's New London. I'm sorry. I'm reading it upside down.
Is a town somewhere in the lakes getting very nervous right now?
Yeah, they're giving out money away.
I didn't even know.
But I'll tell you, they're all with us. All right. Did I get a second, Joanne?
You did.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All in
Aye.
favor.
Opposed?
All in favor.
Okay.
Tired, everybody. Sorry about that. Mayor, I'd like to announce our holiday parade. The theme is going to be Peace in Portsmouth. The reason why we picked Peace in Portsmouth was mainly on account of the Peace Treaty celebration and also the success of saving our shipyard. Now, this is going to be December 3rd in the evening, and it's on a Saturday, and we're going to have everything, marching bands, everything. And Santa Claus will be coming in a fire truck this year. That's we just thought that would be very effective. Hope it's got a even high rise with the big street light. Now what?
One Santa Claus.
Oh yeah,
Well, I think the other was Santa's helper.
Yeah.
Santa's helpers.
We've already gone.
We don't want the helpers.
The kids watching at home.
I just want to comment that under this request to hold the annual Christmas parade, I think is the way it should sound instead of a holiday. But that's just a comment from me. So.
Well, let's not get into that, Bill. We went through that with the Christmas tree.
I thought I was seconding it.
Okay. Did I get a second on that?
Nobody made the motion.
Nobody made the motion. I'm sorry.
Why don't you?
I moved to have the annual Christmas parade on December.
Second.
Third.
December 3rd.
I can see you guys are all tired.
I was going to say the 3rd, and he seconded it.
Sorry.
Okay, we get a second. All ready for the vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed. Now we're down to appointments, boards, and commissions. Now, I want to let you people know why I'm doing this. I was going to hold off on all of my appointments, but I can't because you're going to have boards there with nobody on it. I think Harold could vote for the tax state and the library committee. There's so many that's coming off, and we just can't do that. So that's why I'm doing it. Other than that, I'm not touching any boards or commissions. If it's lap over or something like that, I'll let the next mayor take care of it. First one is consideration for Ed DeValley, and he for the Board of Library Trustees. Next one is Amy Bridger for the Library Trustees. Library Trustees, Barbara M. Ward. Consideration Economic Development Commission, Ed Hayes. Economic Commission again, Cliff Taylor. Consideration Taxi Commission, James J. Feely. Taxi Commission, Peter P. Braziano. Frank A. Daggett, Taxi Commission. Consideration on the Citizens Advisory Committee, L.G. Bailey. Now we're to be voted on, and the first one is Cable TV and Communications, Brian Gregg.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. Now let's see. I've got a resignation. Okay, I have a resignation from the Rockingham Regional Planning Commission, and it is from Mary Ann Blanchard. She said, unfortunately, health issues in my family are taking a good deal of my time, and I am unable to represent the interest of the city in the manner it deserves.
Move to accept with regret, Your Honor.
All right, very good.
Second.
Can I get a second? All right, very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, now I'm down to the Citizens Advisory Committee for Community Development. I regret that I am only able to serve for a short time. In closing, I just want to say that the city of Portsmouth is very fortunate to have such an excellent community development department, and I sure agree too. My best to you in your forthcoming retirement. Barbara B. Driscoll.
Move to accept with regret.
Second.
All right, that takes care of the mayor. And I don't want you all to forget the Thanksgiving dinner down at the Metro. And I'm going to need help this year. I've got to have some greeters at the door. And also I want somebody to sit at the table where we give sweaters and mittens away, because some people came along and was going to give them for Christmas presents. So we'll need somebody at the table too. But I hope you will all come out and help, because we really need help on that one. All right, now we're down to Councilor Hines.
Your Honor, I move that we accept and place on file the minutes of the Traffic and Safety Committee meeting held October 13, 2005.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Your Honor, I move that we... Where are we here?
Parking
I'm
Committee
sorry, I
action.
have to follow up on this one. I move that we accept and place on file the minutes of the Parking Committee meeting held October 13, 2005.
Second.
All opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Councilor St. Laurent, boards and commissions.
Thank you, Your Honor. Once again, out campaigning, I had a lot of people talk about the different boards and commissions and were interested, but they didn't. A lot of them weren't sure how to go about it or where to go. So I'm recommending or making a motion this evening to put a bulletin board in the lobby of the City Hall. I believe there's also already a bulletin board there now, with the available positions that are available on the boards and commissions, so people can look and where to go to find out how to, what to do to get on that board. So
City
that's
clerk.
all the advertisements we can do.
City
I'd like-
clerk, and then the mayor's office, always there to greet them.
Right.
But, John, we will do that, huh?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll put up a bulletin board. What I think might be useful is that we'll list all the people that are on the boards and commissions, and we'll just staple that to the bulletin board, and then we'll put a little section on vacancies.
Vacancies.
We'll put that together. That shouldn't be too hard to...
I mean, we've come a long way with the boards and commissions. It's been a rough haul. but there's a lot of new people coming into the city, and they want to be sitting on a board. So hopefully I've taken care of all of them.
Well, this way they
This
can come
point.
in the, in
Right?
the evening, and they'll
Sure.
see that up, so they won't, if you're not in your office. So.
It'll probably be a couple of weeks because I'd like to work with Kelly on it, and she's going to be real busy for the next couple of weeks. So
You got to remember, though, we don't stay open too late at night unless there's a meeting.
Well, that's what I mean.
And
Somebody comes to a
everything's
meeting,
locked
right.
up on account of security.
Sure. Yep.
Okay, very good. I see I took your job then. All right, is that it then? Huh?
I'll second that motion. It wasn't a second, I don't
Oh, I'm sorry. All in
To move
favor?
adjournment?
All in favor? Whoa, we haven't finished this
I didn't
one.
think we needed a motion.
I'm going
You don't need a motion?
Okay, you don't need the motion? Oh, okay, all right.
All right,
I'll
all right.
I'll retract the motion.
Very good. All right, who wants to make the, is there any miscellaneous or unfinished business? No, Harold. Harold, why don't you make the motion to adjourn?
Your Honor, I'd be glad to. Your Honor, I move we adjourn.
Did I get a
Second.
second? All in favor? Aye, all opposed.